Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. Today is Monday, April 22nd. It's the week of the NFL Draft. Let's go. We've covered a lot of it. We've talked a lot about it. Now it's the week of, and we'll be downtown for it. Can't wait. Thursday, we'll be doing our mock draft today, talking a lot of NFL Draft. All things around it, rumors, little J.J. McCarthy, maybe we'll throw in a little J.J. McCarthy, talk some also our mock drafts, which we have our mock drafts for today. Boys, we got a packed show. Mike will be joining us, like I said. How's everyone doing today? How we doing?
Feel great, boys. I'm ready to roll. Wild weekend, to be honest, but little boom, 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 boom for me over here, Booner. But hey, I'm here. Draft week, we're ready to roll. Got the merch on, ready to roll. Draft week, boys.
Oh, you're always
have a week.
Boone.
It's Brad Holmes game week. How about that?
Yep.
Hey, and playoff hockey, playoff NBA started. It was a good ass weekend, a lot of good games. So electric time in sports. And we got the draft coming up. Lukas, don't give me that. I already know what you're about to say, but a good weekend. Going to be even better week.
No. Hey, no, but I had a good day, fellas. We are at the week of Brad Holmes turning in that draft card that says Xavier Legette, wide receiver, South Carolina. So I cannot wait. It's going to be a great week. Can't wait to see you fellas Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Give the people some great content.
This is a big Booner Path week, by the way. I want to throw that out. This is a big week. This is I live for these weeks.
Mm-hmm. I want to give a shout out to Scotty B Adventures. He became a Crunch member, so we appreciate you. Scotty B, much love to you. Ed O'Neill, thank you for the $2. Says Jeff, you need to talk about your mock. Let me know why. You can ask me about it at Mailbag. Eduardo, I'll address any of your concerns. I put out my final mock draft. Devin the dog just donated $10. Appreciate that. We saw him. Makes great merchandise too. He's cooking. Yeah. So check out his stuff. LFG fellas, I can't wait for the content this week. Also, I need shirt sizes. Well, I think it's large for everyone except for Lukas, and he's a medium.
Yeah, medium.
He's got that Nate Wiggins body.
That is true.
Sure. Yeah, I wear a lot of Devin stuff. The one shirt I wear with the little Lions logo in the corner, I wear it probably once a week just because I love his stuff. That's a shout out to him. Also, John, man. Those are nice. Yeah, it's sweet. John says LMAO was a lower than mid draft, Jeff. Well, John, sorry to hear that. A lot of people liked it, and I loved it. It's my final mock draft. Did all the kind of the play. I did four. It's 4.0. So I did 3 other priors, and then I narrowed it down to my best players. And then me and Adam also did a full first round NFL mock draft, which we'll review today. So you guys can critique it. I had the line. So we'll go through that. So it'll be fun. But before we get to because we'll get to more draft stuff later. Again, like a mock drafts, MicroMike's joining. We'll talk J.J. McCarthy. Barry Sanders put out a graphic kind of explaining how great Brad Holmes has been the last couple of years, reflecting on his draft classes. I saw this article, and it was put out our good friend John Macro in the doc. It wasn't written by John, but it was on his website at All Lions, which they do great work. They had an article that mentioned players that could potentially be dealt if there were draft day trades. I remember we talked about that at some point. And I'm gonna give you the names, and we can react to this article.
I tried to look at the article, and it would not pull up for me. So I don't have. This is me going in blind here. I'm interested to hear these names.
Going in raw, Boone.
Jesus.
So
I'm going in blind.
Let's check this out, and you guys can kind of give your. It was written by Christian Booher.
Wilkins?
Booher, I think his name is. Works for John. Sure, he's a good dude. And he's wrote a lot of articles for John. But he wrote out this who could be dealt at the draft if there is a trade. And the first name he had. Get ready for this one.
Pull her up, Jeff. Pull up the article.
Anticipation.
I mean,
safety.
There we go.
Motherfucker. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, that was the first player he named. Yeah, he wrote here, Melifonwu has had an interesting 3 years since being drafted in the 3rd round of the 2021 draft. Injuries have limited him for much of his career, but he's really proved himself as a legitimate contributor when given an opportunity down the stretch last year. And it talked about kind of what he's been excellent blitzer, 2 interceptions in coverage. When he balled out second half of last year, and he writes, if the Lions were able to make this move, it would be because they'd be banking on him not being able to replicate his success from the end of last season. Should Detroit look to pick a safety earlier in the draft and trust Brian Branch to take more reps in the role, then Matafonwu can be facing a tough spot on the depth chart.
Can I just cut this off real quick? Is it okay? Can I? Yeah, Booner, go ahead. No, this isn't going to happen. I mean, if they thought that he was going to not replicate what he did last year, they would have re-signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson and moved down from him. Like, you see what I'm saying? There's zero chance.
Well, let me ask you this, Boone.
Zero chance.
Kind of. But let me ask you this, Boone. Just kind of playing devil's advocate here. What if they're sitting at 29? Let's say Brad's sitting there and he's thinking about trading back. And while he's thinking about trading back, he's like, while I do this, I can ship Iffy somewhere. I can get assets and take a guy like Mikey Sanders still. So if he moves off Iffy for a guy like Mikey, are you mad at that? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to trade Iffy either.
And like for this whole situation, and I think Jeff agrees because I think Jeff was one of the ones on the same page as me on this. Is like Iffy, we did see a small sample size there. We haven't seen like a full year, 2 years. That's why I was a little more so on or actually it might have been you, Lucas. I was more so sold on the C.J. Gardner-Johnson thing because he has put that together for years. Iffy is on basically like a 6-game sample size, in my opinion. That's kind of what we saw. So for me, it was just, hey, if you're going to pick Iffy over CJ, you're keeping Iffy. Even if Mikey Sanders still comes about, you find a way just to take Mikey Sanders still and put him in there, and then you can move on from Iffy in the future. But I don't see it to where it's, hey, let's just move on from Iffy and we can trust Mikey Sanders still right away. Even I'm a Michigan guy and say, I don't throw in a rookie in there right away just to say like, oh, is he going to work? I don't know. I don't see Iffy ever being moved this year, though. That's just something to me I just don't see happening.
Yeah, as much as I love Mike, I agree too. I just can't see them moving on from Iffy for how much he's shown, obviously, in the past game, making interceptions and getting to the quarterback. I still think there's a lot of unknown and like untapped potential with Iffy that they're probably going to see through. I don't see them just giving him up before the draft or at the draft, rather.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. I mean, he's Brad Holmes' draft pick, and he showed a lot. So, like, it's like Brad Holmes' baby. He's a 3rd-round pick. He showed what Brad thought he'd be last year, the second half. There's just no way. The only way, I guess there is, it's like a 1%, is he's going to be due for a contract, but they get it done, though. I mean, I would assume they get it done. So I don't even think that's a reason. But I guess it'd be contractually, I guess. But no, you have more leverage because in 3 years, he hasn't been what he was the second half of last year. So
yeah,
it's not like you're paying him a bag for half a season. You pay him based on what you think he can be. So I think you'd get him on a pretty good discount, or at least a little bit of a discount. So yeah, I don't think this is happening. No, I don't see it. I don't. I think they're going to keep Iffy and roll with him. Let's see here. We'll get Lucas back in a second. He's going to join. I'm just going to put the next person or the next player on here, and you guys can kind of react to it. And that player is, do you guys have a guess? At least because none of you have seen it, right?
No, I think I just seen this one because it was below the screen. If not, I've seen the next player we're going to talk about. But
I would say, can I get an offense or defense, and then I can pick a player?
Defense.
Defense.
I like Houston.
I like that, or like a Derek Barnes.
Wow, you're getting scraps for those fellas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, both of them probably, to be honest. But I don't know who else on the defense I don't know who else you would trade.
Well, there's an ad. No, I'm just kidding.
Amazon. Derek Barnes.
Free plug.
Derek Barnes. It's an ad.
Oh, happy Mother's Day.
I like.
Yeah, the next one, you saw it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the next one. I need a guess on that one. Oh, I see it.
You can see it. Yeah, it's Levi Onwuzurike, but they have Derek Barnes on here. Barnes is another player who's coming off a good campaign. He was used to an edge role at Purdue, so learning the new role took time, and he experienced hiccups when the Lions drafted Jack Campbell. Barnes looked to be the odd one out in the rotation, and it kind of talked about him maybe being expendable because he's in the final year of his rookie deal. That one I'd put more stock into than Iffy.
I agree.
Yeah,
I will say
I just don't know what you're getting for these guys. Go ahead, Gentry.
Yeah, no, that too. I don't think the return would be crazy on Derek Barnes. And I think they would have to be fully confident in Jack Campbell taking that next step and playing almost like every down for them, because Derek Barnes hasn't been great for the Lions over the years, but he was decent last year and he was pretty consistent compared to past years. So I think I don't know if they're going to be ready to just throw out young Jack Campbell every single down like that. And I think Jack's going to take a big step. But I think having Derek Barnes right now for some safety behind him, or with him rather, is probably the best option. I don't think you should get rid of Derek Barnes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you like ship Derek in a pick, because I mean, you also got to think they got Malcolm back there, and even Germ at one point when this team was at the bottom of this rebuild, Germ was a starting linebacker for this team. So I think they have enough depth. But Derek Barnes, he's solid. He's on a rookie deal. I can't see a team that's like desiring Derek Barnes outside of like a pick to go with it as well. And I don't think Brad's trying to trade assets along with Barnes when they like Barnes, I think, in the building.
I do think too, with the Barnes situation, if it comes down to it, say he does get traded, I think it's because they took another linebacker in this draft. Like if they somehow, and I've heard this name a lot, like an Edgerrin Cooper or something, if they end up doing that, like say the second round and he falls and they can get him in the second round, and that's like just a Brad Holmes guy, and he says, hey, we're going to bring him in. That would be the only way I could see them saying, hey, Derek, like, we have a stacked linebacker room now.
Well,
Jack Campbell's now in his second year. We have Anzo. Now we have Edgerrin Cooper. We have Malcolm Rodriguez. You know, that we have dudes now in this room. Germ, and like, those are dudes. You can't have 7 or 8 linebackers on your roster that are all guys who can play. At some point, if that does happen, why not just get a 5th or 6th round pick for a guy and say, hey, I'll just move on. Go play somewhere.
Hey, if you're drafting a linebacker, it'll be Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Remember the name.
He's solid. He's no Edgerrin Cooper, though, Jeff. He's no Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper plays with his head cut off, bro. He's the next Dre Greenlaw.
And they're, yeah. If you're talking like comp in terms of how they play, Cooper's probably Dre Greenlaw, and Trotter style's like kind of Fred Warner. He's not like what they climb. It's not saying he's Fred Warner, but what I'm saying is he's more cover guy. Edgerrin ain't cover.
Alex Anzalone.
Yeah.
I do think he's not going to get this isn't going to happen. Both of you so far are, to me, unrealistic.
You're not getting
neither of them.
You're not even getting a comp 7th pick for Levi right now. I'm sorry.
Can we just
you're leaving Levi him out by the curb trade value wise? You're leaving him out by the curb for a scrapper to come and get, and they don't even want it.
Yeah, can we skip Levi
for value?
Skip Levi.
Yeah, Levi's not even. I don't even know. You'd probably get a bag of chips for him, to be honest. I mean,
just the bag though. The chips are gone. They already ate the chips. You just get the bag.
Mostly air in that bag.
It's a Lay's bag. Yeah, Lay's chip bag with a lot of air. It's a lot of air in it. Nothing. No substance. No substance at all. Well, the next one is kind of not surprising, but also I've seen people throw this idea around, and that's Jameson Williams.
That was if I had to pick one on the whole football team, the whole Detroit Lions team, if you had said, Booner, who do you think on this team would be traded draft night? If I picked anyone, and I love JMO, my number one answer would be Jameson Williams. And then that's just, I think, based off value and ceiling to where you can maybe get some. There's no one else on this roster that I would be willing to give up that has any value that you can get anything for. Jameson Williams would probably be the one.
I'd be so mad. Go ahead and cook though, Gentry.
I wouldn't like the trade. Like I want JMO here. I just like, if we're being realistic, it's like you see draft day trades. It has to be with someone with some value. JMO has he has the ceiling to where you can convince a team, hey, he's coming off the injury. Look what he did down the stretch. Maybe you can convince someone to throw him in if you're trying to move up a little or do something. That's my only thought.
Let me read their explanation, and then you guys can cook. I'll read what they said. So they say Williams has flashed plenty of the elite talent during his 2 seasons with the Lions, but hasn't been able to put it together in a complete effort. Through 2 years, he's played just 18 games and has 24 catches. That's fucked up. There's plenty of potential for him to continue developing into an eventual star. In fact, there's buzz that he could be on his way to this in his 3rd NFL campaign. Still, this will be a pivotal year for him as he enters what will be his first full season.
I think this is the worst one. This is the worst one. Brad Holmes traded up 20 spots for this man, and you saw the best of what he could be, and he looked pretty damn electric. So now you're telling me he's looking electric. You moved up 20 spots. You lost value moving up for him, or you lost draft picks. And now you see that glimpse, and you're like, you know what? Instead of letting this full option play out like people want to see with Iffy, Booner, you're the one that says, and we all agree with you, Jameson Williams has the highest ceiling in the wide receiver room for the Detroit Lions. So this is arguably the lowest his trade value is ever going to be. So why trade him now? I think this is the worst one on the article. I mean, I see the point of, he's an injured player. He has low production, but it's like, so now you're going to move off him when he showed you a glimpse of what he can be.
That's
and
fair.
The Lions need a wide receiver too. There's no way. There's no way. His value is at the rock bottom right now.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
No, Brad, like Lucas said, Brad traded up to get him. One, he already knew he was going to miss time. So after 2 years, he's just going to give up on him, giving that he knew he was going to miss time partially some of that first year. And then Dan's already talked about it. Dan's already said he's confident that J-Mo's going to take that next step to be wide receiver 2. They're not just going to go give him up. And then at that point in time, they're going to have to go back and draft another wide receiver in this draft. And like I said, Brad Holmes has confidence in his guys. There's no way he's giving up on J-Mo this early after trading up and giving up so much to get him. So there's no way. No way. This is by far the worst one.
I'm with Klotz on this. He's kind of changed me a little bit. I'm with that a little. I do see the only reason I said that potentially I felt like maybe if I had to pick a player, like I'm not trading Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm not trading Sam Laporta. Like, let's just look at the offensive side. Gibbs, you're not giving up. To me, I'm not giving up any of the offensive line. There's just the only person that's the kind of the odd guy out that no one knows about is J-Mo. But the fact, like what Lucas said, I think he has the highest ceiling on this football team when it comes to skill wise. I think him or Jahmyr Gibbs, you can argue both have just as high of a ceiling together. And I think he has so much potential and we haven't seen it yet. And he's at his lowest, like to Lucas's point, he is at his lowest right now. So what are you going to get? Like at that point, that's a guy to where you keep him on your roster. You've already used 2 seasons to kind of bring him in, develop him, get him involved, get him in this system. And then all of a sudden you're going to give up on him after you traded up 20 picks for him. You just saw Booner do a whole 180. I'm with Klotz on this. That was very, very great. And I want to imagine it. This is one of those scenarios. You trade a guy like Jameson Williams, he ends up going on another team. He hits his ceiling, and you look stupid. What I was gonna say. Now you look dumb. You keep Jameson.
You trade him even to a team like hypothetical, but like the Cardinals, and it's like a team that needs a wide receiver, and then that's when me and Booner and I think Gentry and Jeff agree as well. As far as strictly ceiling, we're not saying he's better than Amon-Ra as far as what he's done in his career so far. But if they were to work and Jameson Williams go to a situation like that, and he's a 1,000-yard wide receiver, which him really doesn't need that many amount of catches, because I know he struggles with his hands right now, but once the game slows down for Jameson Williams, Jerry Rice struggled with drops. Devontae Adams struggled with drops. And I'm not saying he's going to be them, but with a guy with that upside, once the game slows down, he's going to be somebody that every team wants because he can just break that secondary down with a fade out or a post route and open everything else up.
I don't even Amon-Ra St. Brown would agree he has a higher ceiling. Like that's why I push back on that. Even the man that people would argue has a higher ceiling would agree J-Mo has a higher ceiling. So that kind of ends the argument right there. And that's the problem with ceiling versus or potential ceiling versus production or what you are. No one's saying that Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best receivers in the league. But Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't gifted with 4.2 speed, right? That's just how that works.
We've heard Amon-Ra say that before.
Yeah, he said it multiple times. So, and I've said it on a podcast. But anyway, there's stuff that you can't teach that J-Mo has. Now, production-wise, he is nowhere close to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that's the problem. Can he get there? I don't know. I think he can. Now, here's the other point of it. Besides, if Brad Holmes trades him away, he would essentially be admitting he lost. Like he would be admitting that it was a bad pick. If you're trading him away, you admitted that. And I don't think he would do that. And also you're selling a stock when it's at an all-time low, which doesn't make sense for Brad Holmes. You're not selling a stock when it's at the lowest point. Like especially for Amon-Ra, he's on a rookie deal, or excuse me, J-Mo, who's on a rookie deal. No, there's still untapped potential there. that's just it is what it is. And even if Adam, I love him, but even if he disagrees, like that's fine. But
and I mean it's kind of like it's just
wrong,
obvious when you watch
completely
wrong. When you just watch football, if you know football, you just look at the game and watch him at Alabama and see the speed that he has. Just any player around the league that has that sort of speed and potential and can run the routes and do what he does, you know that there is potential just sitting there. Like you have to get to that ceiling. He may never hit the ceiling and do the stats that Adam put in the chat there. He may never get there. That doesn't mean he didn't have that ceiling, though. That does not mean it. We know skill sets, like J-Mo has a different skill set than Amon-Ra. J-Mo is way quicker, faster than Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is a fact that we've already seen on the football field, whether it's in the NFL or college. That's just a fact, right?
Yeah, I mean, you saw Jameson Williams take a 50-yard end around to the house in the NFC Championship game. And I love Amon-Ra, but he's never doing that. I understand he had like what was it, in his rookie year, we had the kind of the handoff with the Commanders or something like that. But at the end of the day, if that's Jameson Williams, it's a house call. You know what I mean? Like every time. And I agree with the idea that Amon-Ra is a guy that's almost reached his potential, and he's a wide receiver one. But at the end of the day, it's like if Jameson Williams was catching 200 balls off the jug machine every day like Amon-Ra was, I don't think there would be any debate who would be the better wide receiver at this point. I think Amon-Ra is just the not typical, but the formula of what you look at when you work every day, and you got to meet the talent of the other guys. And it's just that typical saying where it's like hard work. When you match that with production and you just keep working and working, it's going to meet talent. If talent doesn't work hard, it's not going to meet the production. It's just simple as that.
Beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's what you're saying, and I agree with that. That's where J-Mo is more talented. What he did at Alabama's final year, obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown never had close to that, but Amon-Ra's always had to work harder to get there. Like J-Mo's just gifted this ability. Now, what he does with it, who knows? But I don't think it's egregious to see. You can look at wide receivers and say, well, this guy has more potential, but this guy's a better player. Like, I don't think that's a wild take at all.
Actually. I mean, think about last year's draft. Who were some of the top receivers that went last year? Can you guys name a couple? I'm trying to think real quick.
Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, Jackson Smith-Njigba,
Jordan Addison.
So just think about this. Those guys, some of those guys have some high ceilings, correct? There's a couple dudes that do. Puka Nacua went out there and put up the insane numbers over in LA. Does that mean he has a higher ceiling than some of these higher level and higher draft picks and dudes who just have pure talent over him and who are faster than him? No, some of those guys have ceilings, but Puka Nacua is in an amazing situation. He puts the work in. He's an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of player who knows how to play towards his advantage. It's different, but there are guys there, in my opinion, like a Jameson Williams with the speed that he has and the ability that he has to make big plays. Those ceilings, those are like Tyreek Hill type of like ceilings, to where like you have that type of speed. Once you get more touches and start getting the feel, and Adam, and the way Adam will take that is I said he's like Tyreek Hill. That's not what I'm saying. And
no,
I actually Tyreek Hill, but I think that ceiling to where that speed and what he can do on the football field is there. And it's obvious. Now it's about, can you get that on the football field? Can you get him to do that? Can you find ways to put the ball in his hands in those positions? That's what it comes down to, because they know how to do that with Amon-Ra St. Brown now. Like, they know how to get him the ball and put him in the best position to be successful. How do you do that with Jameson Williams, someone with more athleticism and more skill and everything? So that's where I'm kind of,
let me help you out.
The cool thing. It's literally the same thing.
No, you're spot on. Let me help you out too. Your point about Tyreek, and people, this is the problem with our society, is they hear things and they run with them. What you're saying is not he's Tyreek Hill. What you're saying is you see what a player like that with that speed can do. And you look at J-Mo with his speed. That is God-given speed. That's 4.2 speed. Not John Ross speed. I'm talking SEC torching NFL corner speed. Like, we're not talking like John Ross what was he at, Washington? Like, I'm talking J-Mo at Alabama in the biggest game, running away, torching the best defense by far in college football. That's what we're talking about. That speed, not John Ross speed, that speed, production. That's the argument. And I think certainly, like you said, Booner, with opportunity, with hard work, which, again, I don't know what goes on behind doors. I'm not going to question his work ethic. I don't know. But I know Amon-Ra works his tail off. So when you talk about ceiling, it's not about all pro. What's higher than all pro? Offensive player of the year? MVP?
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking, will Amon-Ra win Offensive Player of the Year? Probably not. And that's not a bad thing. But can I think J-Mo, with his talent, get All-Pro? Yes, I do. I think he absolutely can. I actually believe, and this might be a hot take, I think J-Mo, with his talent and upside, I think he can have a season in which Amon-Ra will never have. I think he'll have more receiving yards at his full ceiling than Amon-Ra will ever have because of his big playability, yak, which Amon-Ra has, but I'm talking what he can do downfield. Like, that's why Tyreek can get 2K yards, right? Like, and I have this opinion about Amon-Ra. I think he's a solid, he'll always be, which isn't a slight, but a 1,500-yard receiver, maybe 1,600. I don't think Amon-Ra with really, unless he really ups his game, which he could very well could. I don't want to discount him, but I'm talking 1,900 yard. J-Mo with his fucking talent can get to that point. Will he? That's another debate. But with his talent, absolutely.
That's why I think there's a confusion right now a little bit with production as of now, like what both of these guys have produced in the NFL already compared to what their full ceiling is if they were playing at their best in their career in the NFL. I think there's a big difference in that. We've seen what Amon-Ra can do in his production wise, and I don't know if he's hit his ceiling yet, but he's pretty close to, because when you're top five wide receiver in the NFL, that's almost your ceiling right there. The next, like you said, is Offensive Player of the Year. That's like the next step for Amon-Ra St. Brown. With J-Mo, he can get. I think he could get to a point. He has the talent and the speed and everything that comes with it to get to a point to put the numbers up Amon-Ra St. Brown has. He hasn't done it yet. So I see where people would be like, oh, well, Amon-Ra's already done it. You have to kind of look, it's both ways, in my opinion.
And also, will he get it with this situation? Probably not, because you have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta.
Jameer Gibbs.
We're Jameer, and we're spitballing with his potential. Like, you put him in a situation where he's the number one unquestioned wide receiver. Like, CeeDee Lamb was fed how many footballs this year? I mean, how many times was he targeted?
Yeah,
like
I think the most in the league, to be honest.
Dude, like, I'm telling you, if he's in that type of situation where he's trusted and he's a number one, has to prove it. Yeah, are you kidding me? Did we watch the same Alabama? What J-Mo did? I mean, seriously. Did we watch? I don't know if people watched.
Even with the Lions, some of the plays that he made, you're making those plays in the NFL. That's a different level. Like that end around in the NFC Championship game. Not everyone is going to do that. That was insane. Wild. It was a 50-yard end around and took off, and no one was even. He ran through 8 guys and outsped them straight up the middle through them. That's not just something that any NFL player can do. Or just the deep routes, everything.
At the end of the day, like, the simple way to put it, Jameson Williams is able to break down any zone coverage because of his speed. Amon-Ra St. Brown is not breaking down zone coverage, because can Amon-Ra St. Brown manipulate zone coverage and find openings consistently? Yes, but he's never going to just single-handedly break down zone coverage. Jameson Williams, on the other hand, has the potential. If you're running a cover 2, you can throw that cover 2 fade to him every time because the speed's there, and if you have a quarterback with a strong arm, that's money every time. That's how you break zone coverage. You can say the same thing with man coverage. If Jameson Williams reaches his full potential, there's not a corner in the league that can run step for step with him, and he has proven that when you look back at college when he's against Sauce Gardner. He held his own against Sauce Gardner, and Sauce Gardner is the number 1 corner in the NFL right now. So I don't want to hear any of this. Well, Amon-Ra St. Brown is an all-pro. Yes, Amon-Ra St. Brown is an all-pro. He's proven he's a great wide receiver. That's not what we're talking about. When we talk about ceiling, you're talking about the intangibles of a player. And if you look at all the intangibles of Jameson Williams and all the intangibles of Amon-Ra St. Brown, intangibly, Jameson Williams has higher ceilings on most things. Amon-Ra is just the definition of consistency. That's all it is to it. There's 2 different skill sets. One of it has to do with skill, which Amon-Ra does have. It's not like he's lacking skill, but Jameson Williams is all skill set. Amon-Ra is production, consistency, and skill set. I would rather have Amon-Ra. When you talk about who has a higher ceiling, it's Jameson Williams.
Yeah, which is fair. Like, Amon-Ra is clearly a better player.
I hate this conversation. It feels like we're shooting down Amon-Ra.
I know. And that's actually, why don't we defer to a man who talks about this for a living? That's our good friend, MicroMike. And you can check his stuff out. Lions Talk by Chad Sports. He's joining us. Mike, I need your help here, Mike. And welcome to the show. We appreciate you. What's your thoughts on the J-Mo thing, man? I saw you were listening. Do you kind of get what we're saying? Or are we crazy?
Look, man, I think the highest ceiling is Dan Skipper, 7 feet tall. The guy is just an absolute stud. Do you want to run into that? No. I get what you're saying, man. His speed, Jamison Williams' speed is electric. It is literally elite speed out there, like a Tyreek Hill speed. And he does have an extremely high ceiling. If he were to get to that ceiling, I don't know if it's going to be possible. St. Brown is consistent. He consistently gets open. But you're look, St. Brown doesn't have that elite speed, but he has elite workout. He has elite practice. I don't know if Jamison Williams has a higher ceiling than St. Brown because of that. I mean, he does have elite speed. So I'll give it to the highest ceiling to Jamison Williams, but you got to throw in there the work ethic of St. Brown. What he brings to this football team and to the NFL itself is elite Jerry Rice type of workout, where he's not the greatest receiver in the NFL, but he practices so hard and he works on his craft so hard, it makes him just an amazing wide receiver.
Honestly, that Jerry Rice point kind of got me. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a great point. Because Jerry Rice, terrible at the combine, worked his ass off, and he's the GOAT. So I get what you're saying there, Mike. I want to ask you, it's the week of the NFL draft. Where are you at, Mike, with kind of the Lions' plans? I did my mock draft today. Where are you at? This is the week of conviction. I think the Lions should trade up. We all kind of agree. Where are you at with the Lions and picking at 29? You think they'll stay there or not? Is there a player you have in mind that you just think the Lions have to get their hands on?
I'm just really excited for these mock drafts to be over with. I'm ready for the real thing on Thursday. And I know everybody in the chat's getting tired of it, and we're all getting tired of it. I really do have a feeling the Lions going to trade up. I really think that's what they're going to do. They're maybe go like 15 and to get a cornerback, Quinyon Mitchell or Terrion Arnold, or maybe an edge. But I just got a feeling they're going for a cornerback and they're going to trade up in the draft. That's my gut feeling. I don't know nothing about. I haven't heard anything. Just feels like that's something that Brad Holmes may be looking to cook here. Does anyone really believe they stay at 29? I really don't. You think they trade out with the draft and Detroit? I know he said that he'll apologize to the fans. Just doesn't seem like that's a Brad Holmes type of thing, at least on Thursday night, and which is now Honolulu Blue Day. So from Whitmore putting that there. So I think that's what they're going to do.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm on the same thing. I think they're going to trade up. I did a mock draft last week, had them going up and getting Quinyon Mitchell. Now, Mike, do you think? And I've been we've had this conversation. I can't remember who it was with last week about him staying put at 29 and kind of doing something that no one really expects and just going offensive lineman. Do you think that would be kind of a shock, or do you think that's something Brad just, hey, we just want to keep building this offensive line, stay put, stay at 29, and just like, hey, let's just go with what everyone else thinks we're going to do. Do you think that happens there with the offensive line?
It's very possible if they wanted to stay there, and it shouldn't be a shocker to anybody else. That is the strength of this football team. But if you look at the future of this offensive line, there's a lot of questions. Zeitler's on a one-year deal. He's probably not going to be back next year. Frank Ragnar, I don't know about you guys. I think he retires after this year. That's my personal opinion. Taylor Decker, we haven't extended him. So if they wanted to go offensive line, I think that's actually a really good decision. Jackson Powers Johnson, they want to get a center or a guard, they can go there. If they want to get a tackle and kind of groom it for after Taylor Decker, after this year, I don't think they're trading him. That's a possibility. And I agree that you got to go BPA, even if it's a position that we have a strength at. Brian Branch, I thought we had a strength at safety last year. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph. They go ahead and take Brian Branch. And it just shows you that just go BPA, regardless. If they're going to stay there, do that. And if it's offensive line, I'm down for it.
I like the BPA. I'm with you on that.
Yep.
And Mike, going into Thursday, what do you think outside of cornerback? What is your biggest position of need for the Lions? I mean, you kind of mentioned the offensive line. You mentioned edge a little bit. What do you think? What's your angle on that?
Edge.
What, Davenport? Houston? Come on,
not
Mike.
confident in Davenport?
Look, I was a big proponent of making a trade in season last year. I thought we were one player away, but really making that push, and it seemed like we were. I think if we would have had an edge, we potentially get to that Super Bowl. Marcus Davenport, I like how they talk about him. That's how they talk about him. But if you look what he actually has done, it's not that productive. A lot of injury history. I want Ada Hutchinson to have a compliment. I want him to have another young edge opposite. I like Joshua Pascal, but he hasn't proved it to me that he could be the opposite. So if they can go ahead and get a Jared Verse on this defensive line, I think it takes this defense to the next level. It's going to help these corners that we got out there. We have to hit the quarterback. It was too often last year. The quarterback was not getting smashed and sacked. Yes, Hutchinson did great the last couple weeks, including the postseason in sacks. We need other help for him as well. And I think it's important that they get an edge in this year's draft early.
There you go, Mike.
I agree with you, Mike. They need an edge, but so help me God, if it's Chop Robinson, I'll lose my mind. We're flipping it to the other side. Offensively, outside of the big three, the Rome Odunze, Marvin Harrison, and Malik Neighbors, who's your favorite receiver? It doesn't matter if it doesn't have to be first round, but for value-wise, who's your favorite wide receiver in this draft?
I know he is a first-round talent, and I've been warming up to him a lot at Donnie Mitchell, 6'2", because I like that size. I really do. And losing Josh Reynolds is actually a big deal, in my opinion. It's over 600 yards. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones, but what if you want to get another guy? And he's sitting right there. That could take that offense to the next level. You have St. Brown, who's always open. Jamison Williams can take the top off. Now you got another guy that can play on the outside and on the inside if need be, and Jahmyr Gibbs run all over the field. I think if they're wanting to go that route, it would be a little bit of a luxury pick going wide receiver, but it would complete the offense. Complete it, at least for this year. It would be scary. I mean, you got it. You would have a great offensive line where Jared Goff could just sit there and wait for one of these guys to get open. It'd be really difficult for teams to compete with that, especially like the 49ers, who have a lot of offensive weapons, because we're not looking just at the NFC North. We got to look at the NFC. Eagles, Cowboys, and the 49ers. The Lions would match up, I think, even better at that when it comes to the offense.
Some would call that a flat screen TV pick, Mike.
Okay, all right. Well, here's where I'm at with it, Mike. Me and Lucas argue a lot on this show about wide receiver in the first round. I look at the class; it's a deep class, and we talked about it. I agree with you last year. I felt like they were an edge potentially away, more of a pass rush. I know how much they need an edge in a corner, and I don't like the edge depth in this class. Lucas wants a wide receiver in the first round, Mike. I don't know, Mike. That to me, that's what I told Lucas. All right, Lucas, and you would understand this, Mike. Tell me if this analogy stinks or not. All right, tell me. Just be honest with me. So I told Lucas, me and Lucas, it's like we own a home. Home's furnished. It's all furnished out. We got some TVs, some nice TVs. You know, it's decorated and everything. But the leak's roofing, or the roof's leaking. All right, I've messed that up. The roof is leaking. All right, maybe the siding's not on par. And Lucas is like, Jeff, we just need another, 80-inch flat screen. And I'm like, Lucas, I understand that, but there's fucking rain coming in the roof. Where are you at with it? Clearly, you're on board with it. I just don't know if I can be, Mike. I don't know.
Make no mistake about it,
Mike. That's a flat screen pick.
You asked about a wide receiver that I'd like. I think I'd like him, but I definitely want to go defense early.
Yes!
And I am about the BPA, though. Make no mistake about it. If a player falls that shouldn't be there and it's something that we got, don't just pick a position of need just because you got to do it. Get the best player available. But I want BPA mixed with need, right? Corner or edge. I think those are the two positions I really would love to get this fixed in this year's draft. I think corner, they can wait till the second round. The edge, it'd be interesting to see about Marshawn Nealon because he's rising up draft boards. He was considered like a third-round pick. Now I think more of a second-round pick. But I want to get those positions fixed. But I tell you what, if it's just Chop Robinson available and TJ Tampa sitting there at 29, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go. Maybe I'll go Mitchell. Maybe I'll go offensive line if one of those guys are there. Because I just don't think that actually helps the team out. To me, it's not BPA. It's just picking because you need that spot. And I'm not for that at all.
See, so I love it.
Some would argue Jahmyr Gibbs was a flat screen TV pick.
All right, well, you know what? Maybe you needed one.
He might have been.
You needed one in the basement. We got it. All right. You don't need to know.
Mike, what about Darius Robinson? If they pick Darius Robinson, are you in on that? I've been a Darius Robinson fan, and I've kind of gone to where, hey, if they take him at 29, I'm happy because it boosts up that defensive line. Are you in on that pick? Because people seem half and half on that.
I am in on Darius Robinson. I like Darius Robinson. I like his work ethic. I like what he does on the field. Unlike Chop Robinson was not producing as much as he is. I think the most important thing about our draft picks, at least for me, is a lot of these, everyone's coming in the draft is extremely talented. But what makes players generally bust is injuries or work ethic or what they're going to do off the field. Darius Robinson's a Lions fan. He wants to be a Detroit Lion. He grew up being a Lions fan. So having somebody that loves this team go into a place where he wants to go, kind of like I don't know if you heard Aiden Hutchinson, not saying he's going to produce like that, but that's where he wants to be. So I would be completely comfortable with that because I don't think he would be a bust. I don't think so. I think this is exactly be a great spot for him right here with Hutch, Dan Campbell, this defensive line. So I would love to have him. I don't know if he's going to be there at 29. I think he actually goes before. I truly
seen a lot of mocks him going at like 25, 26, 27, and you're just missing out on him. I would love him. A lot of people, and I've even seen in the chat now, a lot of people are kind of out saying that he's like a Josh Pascal. He's not going to be a great. I think he's going to be an impactful player on the other side of Hutch. I think it's an upgrade over like a Marcus Davenport, in my opinion.
Well, it's definitely an upgrade over Davenport.
Hey, I'm just throwing out the obvious. Here. We want to make sure we upgrade that spot.
Yeah. For sure. He's definitely upgraded over Marcus Davenport. And look, I'm not poo-pooing Davenport, but
it's okay. I'm in that boat.
You know what I'm saying?
Sitting all over him. Yeah, that's a poo-poo.
Like, do you want to put all your eggs in that basket? No way you want to do that. I mean, especially after last year, we were so close. It's like, dude, we just need another edge. And then Davenport, injury prone guys, not producing at a high level. I do not want to put more eggs in that basket when we're a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl. We're not trying to get there. We're trying to win a Super Bowl at this point. So I would love to get an edge, and Robinson is one I do like. Yep.
Yeah,
and Mike, we kind of talked about it a little bit last time. Jaden Daniels, obviously, there's rumors that he doesn't want to go to Washington, and J.J. McCarthy stock's kind of been rising. He's plus 800 to go number 2. Just want to know your thoughts on that, and do you think his J.J. McCarthy kind of has potential to be that quarterback in the NFL?
I like J.J. McCarthy. He doesn't have that many snaps, right, as a quarterback to throwing the football as much as these other guys, but I think his intangibles are great. I think he's a workaholic. What I like about him, he can extend play. We've seen that at Michigan, right? He's an extending a play. And my fear is he's going to go to a team like the Minnesota Vikings where they do have a ton of weapons, and he necessarily would not have to start this year because they already got a bridge quarterback over there. I do like his potential. Depends where he goes. Jaden Daniels, hey, suck it up, dude. You're going to be a commander. Sucks to be you, man. Oh, but that's a bad organization, and I'm sure he really doesn't want to be a part of something like that. But look, this is the NFL draft. Worst team picks first, best team picks last, unless there's a trade, and you're just going to have to suck it up, man. Like, stop being diva. These guys should be happy to be drafted in the NFL. So, is what it is.
Right.
Yeah, Mike. And over the weekend, it was announced that Kirby Joseph, he had a surgery. I believe it was on his hip. Do you think that has any impact with Brad drafting, especially when you talk about when you want to make this Super Bowl run, it's important to pick up those early wins on in the season that can help you later on with seeding?
I think they're going to go for a safety anyways, maybe in the 6th or 7th round or a 5th round, something that you can develop regardless of J. Curb. J. Curb had that surgery, but you've seen he was wearing the uniform and he was jumping around, rolling around. He said he's good to go. I think he'll be good to go. I don't think they're too worried about Kirby Joseph's health going forward. I think he'll be ready for training camp. But yeah, they're probably going to get a safety in this year's draft for sure because they only got really 3 on the roster right now. I need to have another guy, someone you could develop, doesn't need to play right away because you got good safeties. You got Kirby, you got Brian Branch, you got Afutu Melifonwu. They're not trading, by the way. And so when you have these players, I don't know if you guys read that article. Holy cow. But yeah, we got some good young players on this team, and safety right now is a pretty good spot. We just need depth if there's an injury to one of these guys.
I'll ask you before you go, Mike, and this is just for my ego. I'll admit it. It's for my ego. Kool-Aid McKinstry, what do you think of the player?
I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I do. My worry is, will he be there at 29? It's going to be really close. I think it's between 25 and 29 is his spot. I know a lot of people are indifferent about him, but he's got a great pedigree. Alabama, he did really well in Alabama. Him and Terry, they were just killing it over there. And so I think he would fit great with the mentality that he has. He doesn't necessarily need to be a number 1. If the Lions were to take him at 29, he could wait a little bit, right? We got Amik Robertson, we got Davis there, so he could come in. I think he would probably be number 2 starting, and at some point during the season, he'll be like a point of Derek Barnes or an Futu Melfun, where you kind of take over that role. So I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I do. I think that would be a solid pick. If we're sitting at 29, the two players I'm looking at is Darius Robinson and Kool-Aid McKinstry. Those are the two guys that my personal preference is.
I love it. Real quick, Jeff, I want to add one more question here real quick for Mike. I want to ask, because I know you mentioned you think he's going to trade up. Now, when he say he does trade up to say 15, whatever it is, say Quinyon's gone and Jared Verse is there. One player I want to know your opinion on is Latu, because he has had this injury situation where he kind of retired, came back, and that's been like the whole thing around him is he does have the talent and he has what it takes to play in the NFL, but this injury that just looms over him that everyone's talking about. Would you be okay if the Lions did trade up and took Latu, or are you kind of, hey, let's stay away from him, let's just go towards Verse and the safer option?
I definitely would take Verse over Latu. First off, I like Verse just talent-wise over Latu. Latu is a good edge. He's talented, extremely talented. I don't know about you guys, but we have taken risk on players like Levi and Uzurike. We've taken risk on players, Jameson Williams, Joshua Pascal. Some of these guys worked out, and some, like Levi, has not really gone to that point. If we're going to trade up, I want it to be where I know this guy is going to produce on Sunday, and I don't need to worry. And to me, I would rule out the injury for a trade up such as that. I would. If you're looking at two players, one guy produced, healthy, the other guy produced, injured, unretired, come back, I want to have a more of a sure thing and not screw this pick up, because we did that with Jameson Williams. We traded up there for an injured player, and we're happy now. We're trying to win to a Super Bowl right now. That's what we're trying to do, and I want to be confident that the player that we pick up in a trade up is going to be producing on Sundays, at least most of 17 weeks and beyond that.
And before, real quick, we got a question from the chat, and then we'll let you get back to your day, Mike. But Bo Booth says, Mike, how far do you think Brad is willing to trade up?
I think 14 or 15. I'd be starting to look at those numbers. It's just what I'm starting to believe, in all honesty, is that's as far as they'll probably go up. If you go any far, you're trying to get into the top 10, you're going to have to give up next year's first-round pick. That is something that Brad Holmes, I don't believe, would do at all. He doesn't like to give up that big of a future asset to win right now, and that would be not as smart for this team, right? You need to have your draft picks. We're not the Rams here. We don't F those picks. We like our draft picks here, and so I think 14 or 15 is probably the highest they'll go.
All right, great stuff, Mike. We appreciate you. You guys can tune in, of
Appreciate
course.
You, Mike.
Lions Talk by Chat Sports. Tune into Mike. He'll be covering the draft. He's been covering the draft, and I'm sure you'll have a draft show planned on Thursday. Mike, we'll talk to you soon, my man.
All right, take it easy, guys. Have a good one.
All right, there you go, MicroMike joining the program. Good friend of the program.
No.
Yeah, hey, he was definitely fed my ego. So you know what? I appreciate him for that. Liked Kool-Aid, like J.J. Yeah,
I like the Darius Robinson. I'm happy
Darius
that Mike's
Robinson?
like a Darius Robinson guy. I felt like for a little bit, every time I say I want Darius Robinson at 29, if we stay there, felt like it was a little bit of an island. Every time I say it, it's like the chat's like, no. Darius Robinson. I just get that feeling. There's just some guys.
No, I'd be happy if Darius was there.
Okay.
I think
Darius has been one of those
the
guys.
Darius and Kool-Aid things are like I think the safest pick at 29 as far as like if you don't want them to bust. I just pause. But I just think those guys lack the ceiling you want in a first-round pick. But at the end of the day, you're in a risky situation because you're basically taking a second-round pick. So I think they're very safe picks. It's just they don't have the highest ceilings. Like Mike was saying, like that Kool-Aid halfway through the season could take over that cornerback one role, and I don't see that happening with Carlton Davis there. Like Carlton Davis has been in the league. He's been doing that. He's won a Super Bowl at corner. He's still playing at a high level. And I think Kool-Aid maybe one day could be a cornerback one, but I don't think there'll ever be a day where it's Kool-Aid McKinstry Island. I don't ever see that happening. And that's not what you draft him at 29 to be, but I just think there's better value as far as ceiling in some players. But I wouldn't hate it. Same thing with Darius.
I wouldn't if boys, I mean, if we're doing the draft show, which you can get your tickets, link in the description, only 13 tickets left, could be less at this point. But if you're going, get your tickets. If Darius Robinson was the pick, I think people would like it. Maybe they'd love it, but it's one of those picks where it's maybe not maybe it's disrespectful to say, but it's not like a wow pick.
It's not the exciting pick that they want in the first.
When we're at the party,
Forerunner, not the Tesla Roadster. It's just like it will get you to A to B. It just doesn't look exactly how you want it.
When we're at the party, what's going to happen? It's like if you draft like a wide receiver or someone, there's going to be a pop in the room. oh, like Brad, here we go, or a trade up. If it's Darius Robinson, it's going to be half of the bar. It's going to be like, oh, I don't know about that. And there's going to be some chatter like, what about Darius Robinson? And then the other half, here we go, boys, defensive line, let's go. You're going to hear me on the air. I'm going to be saying, all right, boys, we got another side to Aiden Hutchinson here. They're investing a little bit on this defensive line. Let's get this defense top 10. That's kind of how my outlook would be on it.
Yeah, if you want to say, if we talk, this flat screen bit's kind of going, but think of Darius Robinson as like one of those TV. It's the TV with the big back. You know what I mean? Like the back.
No, I think Darius would apply to your. I think Darius would go to the roof. He'd be the roof for everybody.
Yeah, Jeff,
you're not like coming home and being like,
I mean,
man, that roof. Look at that roof, man. Like
you were doing great with the analogies until then. You were doing such a good job with the analogies.
You know what? You're
That's
right.
fixing the roof. Is Darius Robinson?
It'd be fixing the roof, but you're putting some like, it's like you're kind of rigging it a little bit. You know, you're
putting
rigging
a tarp over the roof so it doesn't leak.
What's up, Mike?
I said you're putting a tarp over the roof so it doesn't leak.
That's maybe how some people would interpret it. Like Jared Verse, roof's fixed.
Agreed. But when you're, Jeff, when you're sitting at 29, you can't fix the whole roof with that one pick. You just can't.
That's good.
At 29, it's not a tarp. It's nothing like that. What it is, it's all right. We have to go out to Home Depot. Instead of getting the best shingles and the best roof that there is, we have to go look for some sales. We have to look for some different options. There might be a newer and different material that we have to find to fix the roof. It's not a tarp. It's not there's holes. We're just going to patch up. No, we have to find some different materials. We're still going to be, our roof isn't going to be leaking anymore, but we're going to have a nice roof over our head. No more leaks, just cheaper and different materials because you're at 29. If you trade up, you can get the good stuff, brother.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I
mean?
It's a gritty.
We're drinking the 1942 instead of the bad stuff. I don't know. It's
that is Kool-Aid a flat screen? I think Kool-Aid is a very fine patch to the roof. I think he's maybe like Booner said, maybe Kool-Aid's not like a Quinion Mitchell. Maybe Quinion, or he patches it up, but that shit's gonna hold through the winter.
It's still gonna be patched. It's still gonna
hold through the winter. I promise you, it'll hold through the winter, possibly the spring.
Gutters. Now, Xavier, if we're talking gutters is like go get Dallas Turner. You get some gutters, you get a new roof. You get some siding for the house. Everything's fixed there for Dallas Turner.
Gutter,
straight up to 8. Jump the Bears. Go get us Dallas Turner.
Well, while we're talking about draft, one thing I always like to do every year before the draft is reflect on prior draft classes. And Barry Sanders did that for him. Shout out to the GOAT. He put out on X. And he has, I don't know who makes these graphics for him. It could be graphics that he just flat out, I don't want to say stole, but used and didn't give credit. I'm not sure if he gave credit. Credit to whoever made these. I'll just say that. But check these graphics out. He put it on his Twitter. And I think it puts into perspective how great Brad Holmes is, truly. I mean, check this out. And, of course, I'll get rid of this so you can see it. Barry put this out on X. It's a graphic right here. Go through the picks from Brad Holmes' first draft class in Detroit. And it shows the best pick, best value pick, and how many are still on the roster, all pro bowlers, and then starters. So 7 selections. It's crazy. Jamar Jefferson, he was on there, but that was 257. Holy hell. It was basically just a flyer. 7 of 7 still on the roster. Best value pick was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Best pick was Penei Sewell. All pro 2, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell. And then you have Pro Bowlers, which is 2. I think it was the same players. Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Starters 5. You know how hard it is to do this? Like that I don't think you go through and look at teams draft, and even us as people who cover the Lions, when we look up other teams' draft classes, we're like, man, this guy can't really draft. It's like, no, that's usually majority of the league. There's only a handful of GMs who can consistently hit on draft picks. Now, Levi, I think we would argue, miss, but he's still on the roster. He still has a job in the NFL. I mean, say what you want about him.
For it.
For now, yes, but still, even if it's 6 of 7 or 5 of 7, you take Jamar out.
Yeah,
I'll take that hit rate. Hit rate.
Just looking at all of these classes, I would love to see the last 3 seasons, how many each NFL team, how many starters they got out of every class and combined it. Because I'm pretty sure it's like the Lions have, I think if you look at all these graphics, I think it's 13 total starters in 3 years. I believe is the number. Like, that's insane. The fact that Brad went out there and has gotten 13 starters in 3 of his draft class is unbelievable. And I think it's like, what is it, like 8 Pro Bowlers or something like that? It's just an insane hit rate. And the fact that he has gone out there every single draft and every year he's averaging right now getting over 4 starters a draft. So if we're going and the thing is with it, guys, we go into every draft and people are like, oh, he's not going to do this again. He's not going to pull off what he did last year or in 2022 or in 2021. And guess what? He just keeps doing it. He got 5 year 1. He got 4 year 2, and he got 4 more in year 3. Guess what he's going to do this year? I bet you he goes out there and gets at least 3. And maybe it's harder for guys to come in and start right away because of the position you're in now and how many guys you actually have and the roster you built up. You're going to get some starters, I think. A lot of people are talking about it the last week. Some of this draft class isn't going to start, and maybe none of them will. I guarantee you this. I will put a Booner guarantee. There will at least be 3 guys out of this draft class who become starters within the next year or 2 on this Detroit Lions team. Brad has averaged over 4 starters a season or a draft. He will go out there and get 2 or 3 other starters in this draft class. It will happen.
Yeah, it's nice to not have to worry like past times, like knowingly you're going to go into this draft and Brad's going to walk away with talent rather. Like it's unreal what he's done to turn around this franchise. It's just unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, it's death, taxes, and Brad Holmes hitting at like a 70% rate. Like that's just it's not normal. I mean, even go through the other draft classes. I mean, 2022. Best pick, Aiden Hutchinson. Best value pick, Kirby Joseph. I would agree with those
Beautiful.
2. I think
another 4 starters.
Yeah. And then you go 7 of 8 still on the roster. Chase Lucas no longer on the roster. Pro Bowlers 1, starters 4. I mean, that's what are we doing? I mean, all these players contribute. Even Chase Lucas was on special teams, and he was a contributor for a 7th round pick to some extent. I mean, 3 phases of the game, he contributes to one of them. And then you go to 2023. Best pick, Sam Laporta. Best value pick, Brian Branch. 8 of 8 still on the roster. Pro Bowlers 2, starters 4.
Crazy, dude. That's last year's class. 2 Pro Bowlers and 4 starters. That's nuts, wild. Dude.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to fall in this hole. And I'm going to tell a lot of people in the chat, and I've seen on Twitter and other places around the city that do shows, don't fall into the hole saying that Brad Holmes isn't going to find guys this year. Oh, yeah, I saw Zach. Shout out Zach. He watches the show all the time. Well, the last 2 years, you had 2 first-round picks each year. Guess what? The 2 years ago, he moved up to get a second one. Let Brad go in there and be Brad. He will find starters, and he will find value, and he will find players. Don't fall into this hole and be the one that gets all, what's the word I'm looking here, boys? All like brainwashed, thinking that Brad isn't going to find talent because he's already done it too much and that this roster's built up. He will keep finding that. He goes BPA. He will find talent, and some guys on this team currently are going to be out of the job because he knows how to find talent so well. Don't be one of those people who in a week or you're going to be complaining about this draft class, and then in 6 months you're going to have to walk back on it again like last year. Don't be one of those people.
I think if you're doubting Brad Holmes' draft ability and ability to get talent through the draft, you've been sleeping under a damn rock for the last 3 years, and you just have not been watching these players develop. I mean, not only did he draft 2 Pro Bowlers last year, but he drafted 2 guys that are going to be all pros eventually. A guy in Jahmyr Gibbs, who a lot of people think could end up being, including me, the best running back in the league. So if you haven't woken up to Brad Holmes, just stay asleep and just watch how this team keeps going along the Booner path and on the way to winning a Super Bowl, and he'll keep cooking.
Can you bring up that graphic one more time? 2023?
Yep.
I'm looking at 4 Pro Bowlers on that. There's 4 Pro Bowlers there. They have 2 right now. There's going to be 4 from that draft class.
Who do you think that is, Boone?
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch.
Think there could possibly
be all be pro.
Maybe an all-pro in the 3rd round?
Maybe you mess around and get a 5th.
Broderick Martin?
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep dreaming on that one, pal.
No, I think those top 4 guys will all be a Pro Bowlers throughout their career. 2 of them already have been. Potential all-pros.
The argument I will listen to is, and it's not really a slight at Brad Holmes, but it's just with how good this football team is. Every year there's so many starters. Eventually, there's going to be guys that aren't immediately starters. I'm not saying there won't be any. There's definitely going to be some, but there won't be as many because this football team's just better. And that's fair. But there's still going to be some good football players. Like there's still going to be guys that when their numbers called upon, they will produce. Like that's certainly fair. But that's why, when people talk about trading back, that's why my motto has been quality over quantity. Even though you could say, Jeff, Brad Holmes is so good at drafting, why wouldn't you trade back? My argument would be, well, this roster's so talented, you can't just get a quantity of players that you're not, again, Brad Holmes knows, of course, but you'd be more confident if you trade up and go get a guy, someone that you're more certain of. That's my take on it. And at least you're not going to have more and more players trying to compete for a spot when this team is just completely stacked within itself already. The Lions do need a 4th-round pick, so I get that makes sense if you want to recoup a 4th round. But people like more picks. It's like, and I get depth, it matters, but I'd go get unquestioned. If there's a guy that's kind of unquestioned the best at his position, bring him home.
I think the fact that he goes BPA and he just wants his guys is like that shows that he would rather trade up than stay or trade back and get assets. He would rather chase down his guys to bring the guys he wants in, like you said, Jeff, the quality, than going back and say, hey, let's just add some more draft picks. Now, if the guys that he loves are gone and he knows he has more guys behind him that he really does love, then that's when you do see Brad go, hey, I'm gonna get some more picks so I can get more of my guys. Even last year, like he traded up for a Brian Branch. He traded up, I guess he traded back for Jahmyr Gibbs because he knew his guy that he wanted over Bijan Robinson. He wanted that guy. So, hey, let's get more picks so we could trade back and still get my number one guy. So he's proven that. And same with the Jack Campbell and the Sam Laporta. He got the right guys. I
don't want it to be because people would say, well, Jeff, you can still have quantity and quality. Yes, but you're more comfortable. And I think Brad Holmes to a certain extent would agree with this. The higher you pick, the more confident you are in that said player. I think that's how it works. I mean, unless Brad Holmes just knows something that no other GM knows, which could be true, I think we'd agree that the higher you select, the more confident you are with finding a dude, right? Like Levi Onwuzurike, it happens. He's going to have a miss or two. It's just how he's human. It's okay. But that's why I feel like trading up and getting a solidified talent is the better option. But who am I? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and crap on Brad's strategy, but that's something I would prefer personally.
The one thing I'm going to hate, fellas, we'll never be able to see a Brad Holmes draft board in our lives. His draft board's so different than what anyone else's is. And I just want to see, he said last year Jack Campbell was one of the highest on his draft board. And he said Sam Laporta was also one of the highest. Like he got his top guys. And there's like 20, 30 guys that some people probably had higher than that, though both of those guys on their draft boards, and he had them in like his top 10.
Yeah.
So I would love this year just to see what his ranking is of these players this year. Like the Brad, that would be like a dream of mine. Booner, what's your one dream? If you had 3 wishes, what would one of your wishes be? I would love one of my wishes just to see Brad Holmes' draft board every single year.
Oh yeah, that's the.
And then I would love like $1 million.
Be in the room with him as the draft unfolds. Just watch him trade up in person.
What?
Just fleece someone.
And I'll reference the J-Mo trade up. Like, why did Brad trade up for J-Mo? Wouldn't he think, well, I'm Brad Holmes, I should just trade back? Like, no, he thought and had confidence and still does, I believe, that J-Mo's talent is.
Yeah.
You got to go get him.
That's his ceiling, right?
What'd you say?
The ceiling, right?
Yeah, he saw a tremendously high ceiling.
Weird.
That's why he
really
traded
weird.
assets to go get him. Why wouldn't he stay put? He had 34 and he had 34 and 32, I think it was that
George
draft.
Pickens on the board. George Pickens was there.
But my point being is, he traded those 2 picks and went and got somebody that he thought has a super high ceiling, which maybe he'll do this year. Who knows? If he trades back, will I be upset? No, I won't. I'll understand it. Just preference. We all have it.
And this comment, shout out Bo Booth for tuning in. He said, how many guys can you take without pushing current players? There's only so many spots. Going to be a lot of competition this training camp. That, to me, guys, that's what you want. Because I go back to the interview with Brad about a month ago when he mentioned the whole C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Brian Branch thing, to where, hey, Brian Branch was just one of the best players in this draft. And They knew they just signed CJ Gardner-Johnson at the time, played the exact same position. All right, we just signed one of the best in the league at that position, and now we just drafted a guy like Brian Branch. What did Brad say about it? He word for word almost, not word for word, but basically he just said, I didn't know if Brian Branch was ever going to play this season. I just knew he was a great football player, and I wanted to bring him in, and he can compete for the job. Guess what he did? I know CJ got hurt, but in training camp, they had to move CJ out of his spot to bring Brian Branch in because they needed Brian Branch on the field. So I don't even care if you're pushing current players out. If that means you're pushing current players out, that means you're getting better and your football team's getting that much better. I would rather have that than just draft for depth. That's why I'm on the Brad Holmes side of BPA. I would rather just continue to bring better talent in at positions you have. So I would rather have that than depth, in my opinion. Just always having competition.
Fellas, I want to transition here because I'm excited for this because now it's the time where you guys and the chat get to maybe roast me or maybe give me some credit here. All right, me and Adam, we did a full first-round NFL mock draft. We had alternating picks, and I want you guys to react to it. I don't know if you checked it out already, but if you have, that's fine because we'll have some thoughts on it. But I'll let you fellas cook here and the chat. I'm going to put up the mock. We're going to go through it kind of quickly, each pick, and you can roast me or roast Adam. It's an open forum, and I have some thoughts on some things Adam did. And I'll see if you guys can point it out for me, and if you do,
I've noticed a few things.
That means I had the right to do it. All right, let's check this out. Oh, geez. All right, I had a lot of fun with this. We
I haven't seen it yet.
This is gonna be perfect.
Klotzy, there's a few shocking things in my opinion.
I bet Booner. Hey, I bet there's something with JJ that look at that face.
No, the JJ thing, I'm happy with the JJ.
No.
Thing,
I did right by Boone.
JJ was great. There's a couple things that I was like, what are we doing here? And I would have to say, if I remember correctly, it was the one and only Adam, the caller from the D, from Dallas.
Caller from the D. All right, let's put up the mock. We'll go number one to no one's surprise. I had the number one pick. I mean, what are we doing?
Jesus.
Yep, that's your. I'm not going to say
Jeff
who I thought.
Probably drooling making this pick.
I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I'm confident. It's my guy. All right, we all have one. All right, here and we'll keep going. Number one, Caleb Williams. Number two,
good.
Jaden Daniels. No problems
Great.
yet. Right? No one disagrees yet. Adam took Jaden Daniels. At three, I had the Patriots. I took Drake May. All right,
Fourth best quarterback in the draft.
And real quick, we gotta stop for a second because now the love is being shown by a lot of people right here. We gotta acknowledge some of it. We got Lion Rumble 81. That's my guy. Appreciate you. Thank you, Jeff and Panel, for sharing your gifts and supporting others for the culture and brand. # Crunch Time. Lion Rumble, we love you, brother. I appreciate the support. Dante 151 for $20. He says Tigers win 7-1 over the Rays. The Tigers improved to 13-10, while the White Sox are 3-18. Holy shit! And it's looking like they're going to lose today. Jason said that the White Sox are on pace to win 20 games total. Oh my God. Jason's doing a great job, by the way. He
is great. Every time I tune in, he is one of the best in the game, man, if not the best.
Shout to the Tigers. Hell yeah. And appreciate you guys for showing love here. But yeah, I mean, the first three picks, no one's surprised, I don't think, right? I mean, you keep going. Yep. Marvin Harrison to the Cardinals. Yeah, on brand. Adam took him.
Good job, Adam. I'm proud of you with that one. That's awesome.
Yeah, hey, I think we're doing good so far, fellas. It ain't bad.
Yep. Can I comment one thing?
Please, no. If you have anything, say it.
I am just so against the Patriots taking a quarterback, especially if it's a guy that if it's not Jaden Daniels, if Jaden Daniels falls to 3, take him. But besides that, like Drake May, they're talking about mechanically, he has to develop. You have to do that with talent around you. And DeMario Douglas is no wide receiver 1. Ramondre Stevenson, they're trying to ship off. He's going to have to do so much progression with so many young players. Why not just build a system? Because next year, I mean, honestly, there's going to be a guy that's similar with how their value is with Drake May next year. You talk about guys like Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart's a guy that's going to be in the top 3 that you put in New England. Jackson Dart's good.
Yes,
I'm just saying, there will be guys that will be around the same tier as Drake May in next year's draft. You add a Marvin Harrison, you draft offensive line, you go get a quarterback in the 3rd round, you have Jacoby Brissett out there, which will guarantee you pretty much the same pick there next year. Oh, yeah, and you have Marvin Harrison, so this rookie can progress with.
Klotz, I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here, and I'm with you a little bit because I'm not a Drake May guy. I don't think like he's gonna have to sit a year. I think from what everyone's saying, like you said, the mechanics. He is not a guy that can come in and play right away. I did listen to something today that mentioned that the Patriots, their plan from all along, and a lot of people are saying that they might be looking to trade out, but their plan all along was to bring in a guy like Jacoby Brissett, a veteran on $10 million. I can't remember who was saying it today, but to bring a guy in like him, draft a quarterback with the potential of having to sit a year at number 3, and that's like a guy like Drake May, and then letting him sit a year, develop, learn, get weapons next year in the draft, get more weapons in the free agency next year, and then when Drake's ready next season, he takes over and he has the weapons and he has everything to go instead of waiting. So I think they're both approaches are a good way. Like your approach saying, hey, maybe we get a quarterback next year, get weapons this year because you have Marvin Harrison, but maybe the quarterback might not be ready right away next year, to where I think the Patriots thought process is with Drake May, at least you can get him in the building for a year, get weapons in next year's draft.
Booner, you're being too nice.
I hear it, but there's nothing that will develop a rookie quarterback like a Hall of Fame wide receiver. There is just not.
But if you don't have a quarterback in the room, to develop, there's no point of it.
If Michael Penix is sitting there in the second round, and they take Michael Penix. You can afford so much risk. You do not pass up at 3rd overall a Hall of Fame wide receiver when your whole roster needs everything. They need everything.
I'm with you, but get your quarterback in there.
If they take Drake May next year and they let him pan out and he's still not good, okay, now you just have to reset and you just pass up on the Hall of Fame wide receiver.
I don't see Drake May being.
I understand it, but if you're asking which is the better way to go, you draft the Hall of Fame wide receiver because he's going to help you regardless of what quarterback you have in there.
Yeah,
he's a quarterback-proof wide receiver.
I think both ways. We got 30 picks.
Yeah, we'll move on. Lucas completely disagree, but we'll move on. Yeah. We'll do this another time because it's fine. We don't have time. All right. 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. 5, J.J. McCarthy. It was a trade.
Jeff. Smart move.
Well, yeah, the Vikings trade up to 5. They take their guy, Boone. It makes sense for the Vikings. I mean, they acquired the Texans' picks, so now they get to trade up and they're not trading up for anybody else but JJ. So they were able to land him at 6. Adam went with Malik Neighbors. Okay, and here's where things got this is where the draft begins, in my opinion. All right, the Jets traded with the Tennessee Titans, and they get Rome Odunze. So I was the Titans. I said, you know what? I'm going to trade back. I can still get my guy in Joe Alt potentially. I did 7 to me. I will take the capital. Evan. Why do I keep calling him Evan, bro? Who's that? I don't know what's going on. Adam.
Yeah, I mean that's unbelievable.
I know. I don't even know where Evan came from. Adam. Adam traded up to 7, took Rome Odunze. So what do you guys think of this? I see Brock Bowers every time the Jets pick, and now it's Rome.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it at all. Mike Williams, what is he on, a 1-year deal?
Yeah, 1 year. Yeah, and he's always injured, so I really don't hate it.
That's a crazy wide receiver core.
Yeah, but I just don't know if it's worth the value trading up 3 spots when you can get a guy like Brock Bowers. You know what I mean? Because either way, it's going to be receiving production-wise, and who's going to have the longevity of the career and a better career. Maybe Rome at wide receiver, but I think there's definitely a day where Brock Bowers and Sam Laporte are competing for the tight end 1 in this league. So I don't hate it, but if I'm sitting there, I'd rather wait, just save assets, and either way, you're getting a playmaker at 10.
I do think though, like Rome Odunze, having a Rome Odunze and a Garrett Wilson for the next 5+ years is one of the best. That could potentially be one of the best wide receiver duos in the whole NFL. And you're sitting there like just to move up a couple spots, 3 spots, and you probably I don't know how much you have to give up, but it's probably nothing insane. I would guess.
You're jumping the Bears too, which the Bears could potentially be taking.
So I don't think I think it almost is. It's worth. I see Lucas's point because it is another weapon, and we know what Brock Bowers, what he can be and what he's going to be in the NFL. But a Rome Odunze, Garrett Wilson, and then you have Mike Williams there. But at least for Rome Odunze and Garrett Wilson for the next 5 years potentially, that's a scary duo. Just to trade up 3 spots and guarantee you have that duo for the next 5 years, that's something different. But I don't think you can go wrong going 7 and then staying at 10 and taking Brock Bowers.
Here's the biggest. To me, a big brain fart. All right, not in a bad way, but I was like, this is where the draft kind of got a little interesting, even more. Interesting. The Falcons take Byron Murphy the 2nd
over Dallas Turner.
I'm out on this. Yeah,
what do you think, Gentry?
What do you guys think? Falcons going Byron Murphy the second. I don't know.
I mean, I like Byron Murphy as a player, but I think in like any other drafts that aren't as loaded at QB and a lot of the skill positions, Dallas Turner would go a lot lower. And I think he's going to be a steal for any team that, gets him below pick 8. I mean, I think that's a steal for the type of player you're going to get. But that doesn't mean Byron Murphy is one of the best interior defensive linemen in this draft, if not the best. So, I mean, you still cross off a need as far as the Falcons go. But personally here, I would go Dallas Turner.
I mean, I think Adam's just horny for undersized athletic defensive tackles. And because Kalijah Kancey last year, top 10. And I love Byron Murphy. And I love Kalijah Kancey. I think both of these players, I've said it. I think Byron Murphy has a potential to be an all-pro. But Raheem Morris, in my opinion, is not going to pass up on a edge rusher that can translate right away in the NFL. Because at the end of the day, edge rusher is more important than interior. They still have, I believe, that David Onyemata there, who's a really good interior piece. And their interior, their linebacking core, like they're solid on the interior. They have nobody on the edge. So I think if they can add speed there, and then you look at the depth of this defensive tackle, pick up like a Braden Fisk. But I don't know. Me personally, I'm not passing up on Dallas Turner. I think Byron Murphy's a great player, but if you're in the top 10, you get the best edge rusher in the draft. I don't think you get the best defensive tackle in the draft.
Can we just go into a mind of a GM real quick? Let's just let's do an exercise here. Where do we think Byron Murphy on average in mock drafts or in the NFL draft will go? Can you guys give me a little range that we all think?
I could see the Bears taking him. Like I could see him going top 10, but I just think Byron or Dallas Turner would go first.
To me, I agree with that. To me, though, if you're going to go Byron Murphy and you're probably looking at draft boards, you're talking around the league, I would think being a GM, you would say, hey, let's start asking questions. And let's see if we can get back a little bit, add some picks, and then go Byron Murphy. Because at 8, that's pretty high. Maybe it happens, but that's just in my head. That's one of those situations to where a Brad Holmes with a Jahmyr Gibbs, like, hey, you might be able to get back a little bit and still get the guy you want. Let's get some assets and let's get our guy. Maybe someone wants to trade up Detroit Lions to get a Dallas Turner or something like. There's going to be a lot of other teams who need edges, or maybe there's a team in the teens who want an edge in Dallas Turner, and they'll swap with them, and you can still get Byron Murphy. This is just really early to me. Feels very early.
I don't. If that happened, I think that'd be one of those picks on draft night. You'd be like, "Holy shit!" But then when you look back on it, it's not a terrible. Like Byron Murphy's going to be a great player. Like I don't hate it. I prefer Dallas Turner just because it's an edge rusher.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad. I don't agree with it, but I don't think it's crazy. I just don't agree with it.
He might go. Like you said, Chicago might grab him. There's going to be teams that might grab him.
I'm the Bears, and I didn't hesitate. I took Dallas Turner. I think the Bears won.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, the Bears won this draft. They get Caleb Williams.
That's unbelievable.
And that's what makes it interesting. I even did this. Look at the description of it. I said, "Thanks, Adam. The Bears have officially won the 2024 NFL draft." I mean, this is.
I would flip our table if the Bears ended.
That's like Will Anderson, CJ Stroud, like flat. Like that's like last year.
Yeah, and they already have the defense built up. I would flip this table.
I'd be pissed.
Well, let's get to 10. The Titans traded back, and I was able to get Joe Alt. So it was a great trade by the Tennessee Titans there. They get Joe Alt. At 11, the Chargers, I back-to-back picks because I was the Titans when I traded back. Mm-hmm. I took Brock Bowers at 11 of the Chargers. So Jim Harbaugh gets his tight end and gets capital. So, it made sense for them. Hate it. No, you can't. Now, here's where it got a little tricky. At 12, I traded up.
Adam was so mad.
Detroit Lions traded up.
At 12?
Yeah.
Bravo, Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
Okay.
Good job, Jeff.
So
I did this in the mock last week.
Adam called me. I said, "What the hell you want?" He said, "Listen, man, he's Denver. I'm the Lions." He says, "Listen, all right, I need more capital. I can get Bo Nix at 29. What do you want to trade up?" So I was like, "All right, we worked out a deal. I think I gave up like a second, a third, a cut. It was. I'll go into the specifics later. But I traded up to 12 with the Broncos. Broncos got draft capital and got their quarterback, and I selected corner Quinyon Mitchell. There you go. The description here. Theme for the Detroit Lions should be quality over quantity. Quinyon Mitchell, who I believe is the best corner of the bunch, was worth trading up for. Yes, a little pricey with a future second and third involved, but it addresses a position of need. Detroit gets their CB1 for the future and are equipped to make their Super Bowl run. Are we?
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
All right.
I'm all.
This is cool. Jeff. Me and you have been the Quinyon guys. We
Yeah.
think he's the best corner in this draft. My mock last week, if I didn't do that last week, I would have done it this week as well in my final mock draft Monday. I think Quinyon, I think him and like a Jared Verse are two guys you can trade up for. I would rather trade up and get a Quinyon Mitchell. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this.
Yeah.
And I think the Broncos would make this trade.
Corners, but I'll take either Quinyon or Terrion. But I mean, for what you're giving up and what you're getting, I love it. We've always been high on Quinyon since we went to Indiana, and obviously he's going to be great in the NFL. So giving up the capital to get a player like this, I wouldn't hate it at all.
Hey, you're telling me you're taking away. I would say he's been marinating in the 419 for the last 3-4 years. He's going to come out a dog. So, hey, I'll stand on my hill. I still think Terrion Arnold is the best corner in the draft. But if you tell me you're trading up to take Quinyon Mitchell, there's still a smile on my face because I don't think there's that much of a gap in between them. And I think Quinyon's a little bit more physical and he'll be better in the run game. And I would love this pick, especially to your point. Like, I don't think there's many other players outside of the top 10 that would be able to impact the Detroit Lions roster right now. Even a wide receiver, like they wouldn't be able to be that. Quinyon Mitchell, I think, is a guy that one day could be a cornerback one in the NFL. So I'm all for it.
That makes me happy. I mean, the chat, please. WL. Let me know. Is this an L or is this a W? I mean, we traded up, what would that be? 17 spots to get Quinyon Mitchell, the best corner.
I don't care what anyone says. This is a W. I don't care what anyone says.
We say good. Trade up for an edge or a corner. Trade up for an edge or a corner. I typically will go edge, but it's funny. This is what I had a problem doing, guys. Okay. And I see people talking about Latu, and I'm a big Latu guy. Lucas, we would agree he's the best. I think he's, besides Dallas Turner, without the neck injury, you could argue he's the best defensive lineman in the draft. But here's the thing with Latu. This is what I struggle with. And this is why it's interesting to do these mock drafts where you're the GM. When you trade up that much draft capital and you're sitting there at 12 and the red dot's on me, and I'm thinking, shit, am I about to take a player that potentially could have those issues lingering going forward? Like, I had to really think about that. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting in Quinyon Mitchell. I know what he is. He's going to be my number one corner. Latu, I shook a little in my boots. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a hard job. Brad Holmes.
That's why I think the Latu thing, Jeff.
Job.
The only way I would trade up for Latu if he starts to fall a little bit because of that, and then maybe in the 20s you can get up in like 22, 23, and you can go up and get Latu. I think that's where it's more. But if you trade it up to 12,
land in Green Bay.
No.
Yeah. You trade up, but if you trade it up to 12 for Latu, I would a little bit. I would say it's a lot of capital. I still think
in a row I picked 12. Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, for JMO.
Yeah. It's a
and
true
then
point.
Gibby.
Jameer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move forward here. We'll keep going. I'm glad, a lot of L's in the chat. That's fair. All right. I like the pick. I like the selection. But if you wanted Latu or Jared Verse, I'm not mad because I agree. You take a corner or an edge. I just went corner in this scenario. All right, let's keep moving. Thanks for the plug, by the way, too. All right, we'll go to 13. The Raiders take Terrion Arnold. He didn't last. I went back to back here because I made the trade. So I took Terrion Arnold to the Raiders, and then Antonio Pierce is going to love this pick. I mean, no doubt. And then you keep going. Adam took Fashanu to the Saints. All right,
this is where kind of the tackles start a little bit, right?
Yep.
I don't agree. Fashanu should not go off the board in front of Fuaga, in my opinion. Fuaga, without a doubt, is the best run blocking offensive tackle in this draft. I think he honestly is probably the best tackle in the draft. I think Joe Alt, maybe snap one, could be better just because of how big he is. But Fuaga, without a doubt, is the best offensive tackle in this draft. So I like the need where you went with tackle, but I think the wrong player for Fashanu. We've seen too many tackles that are just like the gimmicky, like athletic, that just don't pan out because they can't get their feet under them. I just think the upside, yes, it's there, but there's more upside with Fuaga. So if you want to go upside, go with the upside and the security. Like, I think Fuaga is an all-pro type of guy.
Okay. In Fuaga, he was a couple picks. He didn't last too much longer after that.
I think the thing with the tackles, guys, outside like Joe Alt's like the clear best tackle probably in the draft, but like all these tackles, there's like this handful who they're going to go in any order. In my opinion, I've seen them mocked all going before each other. I've seen them all going last. That's where I just think the tackles is once one goes, you're just going to see bang, 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 and they're all going to go back to back to back to back, and it's just going to all get off the board. That's kind of my thought process on it. I think Fashanu could be the second one off the board, but it just
Yeah, I think it's personal preference with those guys. I think they all have, decent upside and whatnot. It's just rather who they have on the top of their big board. But I think no matter what with the pick right here, the Saints go offensive line or defensive line. It's one of the two. And I don't hate this pick by any means. Because what's his name? Carr was getting crushed last year. So any pass protection is going to help him. What's that?
Said shout out Bruce Irvin.
And honestly, I don't even hate the Fuaga stuff because he is an absolute beast. Fashanu, this goes back to that ceiling thing, but a lot of tackles, I do think athletically you could argue Fashanu has a higher ceiling, but it's not like it's drastic. I think it's you're picking.
Yeah, but
I think there's a group of these tackles who are all really close.
Fashanu will never even meet the ceiling that Fuaga does when it comes to run blocking. It's just when people talk about, there's Marvin Harrison could be the consensus number one, but Malik Neighbors, if you really give it time, I think when people talk about that, that's how they should talk about Joe Alt and Fuaga, in my opinion. Fuaga, people just instantly put Joe Alt as the best tackle. Why? If you watch Fuaga, ceiling, athletically, I think it's different when you talk to offensive line because Fuaga is still nimble. He can still move in space. And that's Fashanu, when it comes to power, it's never going to be Fuaga.
And I think you could say that pass blocking, if he hits a ceiling, Fuaga will never be Fashanu in pass blocking. I would say that.
I see. That's where I disagree.
That's
where his arm.
I get your analogy, but if you're going run blocking if you're using that against Fashanu, I don't think it's fair to do. I can flip that on you, and I could say I think with his athleticism, he would be if he hits a ceiling. That's what we're going with. His ceiling would be a better pass blocker than Fuaga. But that's where I don't, because
Fuaga is so complete and he's so powerful. There's two different styles.
That's fair.
I just even more complete and just way more powerful. As far as in pass blocking, that's just as valuable as athleticism because you're not in space with a ball. You know what I mean? You're trying to set an edge offensively.
Right.
And I think there's two ways to go. And just pass blocking, there's an agile pass blocker and a power one. And I think there's ceilings for both of them, if that makes sense. I don't think it's
I think Fashanu was in a conference with the best defensive line talent. I think as a group, Big Ten, most physical conference,
right?
And he shined in pass blocking. So I think you got to give him that as well. But regardless, you're right. I mean, it's all like Adam said earlier. I don't think there's a Penei Sewell where there's they're
so close in my opinion.
Yeah,
there's just so many dudes that are on almost the same level. It's just like Gentry said, it's going to be preference for some of these teams. They're going to meet with some of these guys, and if they feel like this, you're going to have these meetings. Who do you like? It's just that's what, at least in my opinion, these tackles it comes down to.
Yeah, and Fashanu could be the next Mekhi Becton. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, I don't. But he had him going 14. You'll see where Fuaga went. It was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. We'll get to it. But at 15, the Colts took Cooper DeJean. All right, that's pretty. Hey, took a white guy. And not only that,
they need a corner. They need a DB.
Yeah, in all seriousness, they're a heavy zone team, and Cooper's very good in zone, and he can play special teams. So he goes top 15. Get their safety. Jared Verse 16 to the Seahawks. Adam has him going. I had Nate Wiggins, Lucas. I'm sorry.
Hey, just take him early. Just take him before 29. That's all I care about.
I had him out 17.
Don't let the Lions even have a chance at this guy. That's Lucas's brain. Please go early.
Sorry, I just saw a comment here. Rando. He says talking ceilings is like talking clean his butthole. I don't know if that's you could argue.
All right.
18.
Shout out Dude Wipes.
As a preference.
Shout out Dude Wipes. Cincinnati Bengals went Jerzon Newton. Okay.
Yeah, that's
all right. And then 19, I had the Rams taking Fuaga. The fact that he was still here, I grabbed him.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Good
for them.
Yeah.
He should have went. Let's be real. He will go higher. But at this point, I'm sorry, Etienne. I know you want an edge. You can't fucking pass on Fuaga. He's sitting there staring at me. I'm taking his ass. You got to protect Stafford, whoever the hell is the quarterback after him. So I went with Fuaga here. He might be upset with that no edge. Because by the way, Latu's still on the board. So there you go. 20, Amarius Mims. This one I hated. I absolutely hated.
The man who played 8 games in college.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Adam. I hated this pick when he did it too. Hated it.
Oh.
Because they took Broderick Jones last year, tackle.
Who's out of Georgia, who's a dog.
Who's really good. And then you take I'm not gonna say that, but you take his cut. Well, I don't think he'll be Broderick Jones. Okay,
No,
that's
Is
all.
Amarius Mims a guy that could just keep dropping?
I was gonna get a low rated R there, but anyway, go on. Go on, there. No, go on. You're good, Boone.
I didn't hear what you said.
No, I was gonna say some pretty messed up shit, but then I was like, can't stop.
Go ahead.
No, he's not Broderick Jones. Okay, I was gonna say he's like his messed up cousin. But basically what I mean by that is I think with his injury risk, he's too big, which is a problem. Too big. He's like 6'9", dude. Like, and that's what I wear. At least Joe Alt. That's my concern with Joe Alt too. He's so big, like 6'8", 6'9". Like that concerns me. And if you're already banged up, oof, I don't know.
Like I'd go Graham Barton here over Amarius Mims for sure.
Yeah,
Graham Barton every day of the week.
You could play guard, maybe. I don't know. Amarius Mims, I don't think
a Mekhi Becton, Jeff.
Yeah, that's a better comparison there. All right, we'll keep going. 21, I had the Dolphins taking Jackson Powers Johnson because at this point I just said fuck it, we'll get a franchise center. And then at 22, Adam took Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Broke your heart.
Yeah, this was tough because now all the corners are off the board. So he went with Kool-Aid McKinstry. The Chargers, I took Troy Fautanu. So you got Brock Powers, Troy Fautanu. That's a hell of a draft.
That's a steal.
For
me, Troy Fautanu over Amarius Mims.
Yeah.
That's Graham Barton is falling in this draft, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Amarius Mims went that early.
Oh my god, no
like
way.
this is J.J.
Latham over Graham Barton, bro.
I like J.C. Latham though. I'm not gonna lie.
Is Graham Barton next at least?
He's close. He's not far behind. Adam took J.C. Latham to the Cowboys, and this is where it got tricky. Okay, I'm the Packers.
Wait. If Latu falls this far, this is where I would say the Lions go get him.
Well, they already got Quinyon, Boone.
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess
in another scenario,
trade back up. Get him.
Go back into the first round.
Hey, let him cook.
Imagine if you got Latu and Quinyon Mitchell.
They're kind of iffy.
So this is where it got a little tricky. Okay, I'm the Packers. I'm sitting there at 25. I'm not gonna lie. I want Mikey Sanders still, but I don't. I know I can get him at 30. Ravens call my phone. Adam, he wants to trade up. This sounds like something the Ravens would do, to be honest. They would trade up and get Latu if he was falling because they're a good organization. And they go get Latu, and I trade back with the Packers. So he took Latu to the Ravens. Graham Barton goes right after 26.
Great for the Ravens.
To the Buccaneers. Graham Barton, it's And he even wrote
for
Graham
the Bucks,
Barton.
too.
Don't overthink it.
Great for the Bucks, too. I mean, Adam. Let's have this conversation. Yeah, I mean, what are you talking about? Don't overthink it. I mean, you overthought it.
Yeah, actually, you're right. You overthought it right
there. That's where you overthought
football. And there, and then just go down a little bit more. You overthought it again, and then again.
Yeah,
just kept overthinking it.
And I was the Cardinals. I took Zach Frazier. That's a solid pick. Yeah. They need a franchise.
Wait a second. Who did the Cardinals take before?
Marvin Harrison.
Okay, wait a second.
What's up, Boone?
I got
if Brian Thomas is not
getting picked in the first round.
I was gonna get there.
This is unbelievable.
This is where it gets controversial. I'm not gonna lie, it gets controversial.
No Brian Thomas, huh?
Brian Thomas Jr. still on the board. I'm sitting there going, all right, Buffalo. There goes Brian Thomas Jr. Adam hits me with a wazam, Donnie Mitchell.
I love this actually.
Over Brian Thomas Jr. I don't hate it either because Adani, I think, is more complete. Like he can do more. But Brian Thomas, again, that's the word of the day: ceiling potential.
He's gonna reach it.
Adam, wait a second. Adam went ceiling. Just want to throw that out there.
No,
Adam,
Adam did not go ceiling.
Okay.
But Adam wants a guy that can do it all. That you can
he doesn't want Brian Thomas.
With Shakir's a deep threat. They got Dalton Kincaid. They got They got Curtis Samuel, who's going to just be running all three levels, and Adonai Mitchell is a true X. He's got the size for it. The only reason why Adonai Mitchell is not higher on this is because his inconsistency with production at Georgia. But when he went to Texas, he lit that bitch up. So he got himself back in the first round. He's a very crisp route runner. Like I said, he's really good at everything, but not really great at anything. You know what I mean? Like,
he's
a jack of all trades, master at none.
This is shocking, though.
Not
Where's
that
Brian
I don't
Thomas?
like the Baltimore pick, but I think if Baltimore is there at that pick and Brian Thomas is available, they're picking Brian Thomas.
Ooh,
they picked a wide receiver the last 2 drafts in the first round, and they need an X wide receiver. I mean, all their wide receivers besides Zay Flowers are kind of mid. So, and OBJ's gone now.
Too. They lost Clowney.
Yeah.
So you could argue edge.
You don't care?
No, they've been taking wide receivers in the first round, and besides Zay Flowers, none of them have really worked out. So, like, I don't see them passing on Brian Thomas falling into their lap.
Can we see where Brian Thomas goes?
Well,
Donnie, okay. Going down.
Denver Broncos, they obviously go with Bo Nix. They traded back.
Smart from them.
Packers, I go with Mikey Sanders still. And then the 49ers, I take Tyler Guyton. And he goes Troy Franklin.
This is unbelievable.
Dude, Adam failed it, bro. 20 and on, Adam was just drunk. Adam, his power rank, he had the Brad Holmes power rankings, but flipped upside fucking down. There's no way you take Troy Franklin over Brian Thomas.
This is unbelievable. Brian Thomas is falling out of the first round.
He even said, he goes, Lukas is gonna shit bricks when
this
he sees
disgusting. They just lost Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce is on the decline. Troy Franklin is strictly fade, post, curl, and then maybe a slant route or something on third and 4. But when you have guys that can run through all 3 levels of the field and you get strictly a deep guy that arguably wasn't even the best wide receiver on his team last year, I'm sorry. That is just fucking terrible. Trade back if you're the Chiefs. If Troy Franklin's your guy, trade back into the 2nd or 3rd round. There's going to be 7 or 8 wide receivers minimum better than Troy Franklin in this draft class.
Wow. You're on that. That's your Nate Wiggins category. You shifted him into the.
He's getting there. Yeah, that man can't keep his feet under him to save his life. If he wasn't catching the ball in open field, he wasn't taking it to the house. He was like a catch it, all right, tackled, catch it, all right, open space. I can take advantage of it. But guess what, buddy? The zone coverages are a lot different in the NFL than in the Pac-12. Okay, that's not. He's not going to get the open space and just all pro spread look that he wants. No.
And Lukas did say that before we went to the combine. He said that he couldn't stay on his feet, and then like the first 3 drills, he fell in like 2 out of the 3 of them. So I do remember.
Every time he tried to catch a ball, he just kept falling. It was one of the more unbelievable.
And even just like Keon Coleman, bro, you're gonna pass up on Keon Coleman for Troy Franklin.
Maybe Brian Thomas is sitting there. Brian Thomas is not going out of the first round.
Yeah, that's the eye.
Unbelievable.
Keep going down I take Roman Wilson over Troy Franklin. Especially if I'm the Chiefs.
I agree.
Wow. Yeah, because they got Hollywood, Rasheed suspended, but they need like a.
They need a guy that can.
Brian Thomas is just the clear
inside the 1 yard line.
You're getting Brian Thomas for 5 years with Patrick Mahomes on a rookie deal. That's just the clear, like that's the pick. Don't mess this up, and you messed it up. What did he say? What did Adam say about Graham Barton? Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Yep,
brother. You overthought the whole 20 through 32.
All right, boys. You know what time it is? Let's get to our mock drafts. All right,
let's fucking go.
Let's get to our mocks.
Now it's time for Adam to cook us.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll see. You know what? I think these mocks are going to be spicy. It's our final mock draft, so you know it could go either way here. But we'll start. We'll start with I think this is Mike's. You didn't trade, right? You just did 3 picks.
No, I don't trade in mock drafts. I'm not a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no.
He can't think for himself. He follows the crowd.
He doesn't want to do.
No, honestly, we're not even allowed to trade. You have to pay for it. That's so fucking dumb. But anyways,
I gotta give you my
I switched up. I didn't do my normal mock draft. I tried to switch it up a little bit. I didn't know this was our final, so I didn't view it as that. I just tried to do something different.
Bro, throw in the slide.
I passed on Kool-Aid, went Mikey in the first round, addressed edge at 61, Chris Broswell. I mean, Brad went to Alabama. He watched those guys. He can't get the first edge rusher out of Alabama, but he can get the second one. And then you snag Cooper Beebe in the 3rd round.
I don't hate this at all.
I think it's a fine draft, Gentry. Not a lot of pizzazz, but there's a lot of solid value that you got there. I'm all for it.
I like the players you got.
Mm-hmm.
Those are players that could have impact on the team.
Mike, I'm in the house. There's no rain coming through. I like this draft. You patch the roof.
For a second, I was like, "What is Jeff talking about over there?"
You patched the roof, Mike. I'm not getting rained on. Good job, Mike. You knew.
I'll give you a B, Mike.
There's no TV.
Hey, no tarp over here. No cheap shit either.
Yeah, it's quiet in here. We don't have TVs, but
you got no will to live. You got no will to live. You're just sitting in the house bored.
Hey, you know what though?
You already got TVs at home. So
yep, Mike, you understood the assignment.
Nothing better when it's already at home.
Well, you know what? Let's get to Lucas's. I think this. Yeah, this is for sure Lucas. I know it's Lucas's when there's like 40 trades. All right, let's get to his.
Hey,
I traded 2 times too, Klotz.
There's 2.
Well.
No, I'm kidding. All right, let's see. Lucas, break it down. What you do, baby?
I went up. Verse was already off the board, but I knew I wanted to move up. I think Jacksonville's in a place where they need corner. They use wide receiver. I think you can get that at 29. So they move back. We go up and we get probably one of my favorite players in the draft, Latu. I don't give a fuck if you don't want to take him because of the injury concern. I really don't. Because if this man pans out, get him at 17 overall, that's taking – you want to talk about taking a leap toward just consistent Super Bowl contention. Him and Aiden Hutchinson, dogs. And then at 21, there was like, in my opinion, Pearsall was already gone. I wanted to get Ricky here. But unfortunately, offensive Max Crosby was not there, so I had to go with Roman Wilson. But I was happy with it because we had the discussion. If you put Roman Wilson and Amon-Ra St. Brown down the field together, I think it's really hard to cover them, especially through zone coverage. So I like the value there. And in the third round, you get Chris Abrams-Drain, who's better than Ennis Rakestraw. You can give it an F all you want if you're woke sports, but I think that's great value there. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I would like to see the look with Rome in the Lions offense. I think like his skill set really caters to how Jared Goff and Ben Johnson have been running this offense. So I wouldn't hate adding him at all. And then Latu, I don't give a shit either about the neck injuries because you look at the player that he is. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a dog. I don't know why Abrams Drain is an F that late. Though.
That is crazy. Klotz, I'm going to say this real quick. The way you drafted and what you did here, you're going to love what I did. Like you are going to probably my draft. If I don't want to boost it up too much. You're going to be like Booner. I love that because literally I think me and you did the same. I traded up with the Jags as well. I got a player that you got, and I got another player that I think you might like a little bit. So
I love this.
I'm happy with this.
Roman just screams like Brad Holmes to me. I just think he's very similar to what Amon-Ra St. Brown was out of college. Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't as productive because it was during the COVID year as well, and he had an injury coming out. So that's why if Amon-Ra didn't have COVID and like the COVID year and then didn't have an injury, he probably would have been a second-round pick. But he just didn't have production. Roman has the production. He was playing at high level. He's a huge reason they won a natty last year. So I think they're very comparable prospects.
If Roman's at 61, Klotzy, you have to take him. If you haven't gotten a wide receiver already, that's a must. Like run up to the draft or to the thing.
He reminded me of like a Julian Edelman.
Yeah, I mean, you took Latu. I don't care what you could have drafted a kicker. I mean, I'm happy. You walk away with a dude. And Terrell Williams is sitting there going, bring him home. Let's turn him into something we know we can be, which is an absolute stud. So I love it. We'll keep it pushing. We'll get the Boons here. Boone, and I just checked yours, and you were actually right. You got it.
I think Lotsy's going to be like Booner. Oh my god!
Too. All right, this is Booner's mock. Booner, break it down.
I did very similar to what Klotzy did. Is I wanted an edge rusher. I want the Lions to go get an edge rusher. Get someone next to Aiden Hutchinson. I think Jared Verse, I'm over him over a lot too. And I think part of it is kind of like MicroMike said. It's the talent and the injury outside of Jared Verse, and the same with Latu. So I'm all in on trading up and getting to Jared Verse. If you can do that at 17. And then when I'm sitting there, you have to give some things up. I had to give 60. No, actually, what did I do here? Oh, I traded up from 61 to 37 because guess what? I wanted an elite wide receiver. And when I went through this draft, I turned it down because I wanted to see who's falling, and I let it go very slow. I just became Brad Holmes for a little bit, and I wanted to become very slow. I wanted to go pick by pick by pick, 30 seconds each. And when I saw Xavier Legette fall all the way to 37, I paused it real quick, and I go, I'm making a move right now. I did what Brad would do.
You made the right decision, Booner.
Yes, this is a Brad Holmes guy. They've met with him, and I bet if he starts to fall, Brad in his mind goes, all right, let's make a move. We have assets. Let's use those assets. go up, get Xavier Legette, trade with the Chargers, give them a couple extra picks. I think that's going to be they gave me a D+. I got him at 37. Some people have him in the first round.
Yeah.
Some people have him in the early 30s. I think he goes in the early 30s. So if he falls to 37, I'm doing it. Cooper, we know the Cooper BB thing or Bebe, whatever it is. I'm all in on him at 96. And then I did the same thing as Lucas, Chris Abrams-Drain. I got him a little bit later than him. But I think this would be like a perfect 4 rounds here. And again, if you guys want to say all the trades, too many trades, this, that, Brad Holmes makes trades. He made 2 in the first 2 rounds last year. The year before he traded up into to 12. Brad Holmes. That's why I've been making trades the last 2 weeks in mock draft Mondays, is because I know Brad's going to be very, very active on draft night, day 1 and day 2.
I love it, Boone.
Yeah, they did a great job, Boone. I mean, these drafts, I think you could tell we've been doing these a while because we've kind of like narrowed it down and got rid of the bad choices, and now we're getting to where we want to be on a perfect week too, draft week. Mine, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. All right, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you guys. All right, my brain is mush from mocks. All right, so I said, well, I got to do something different to keep me engaged. All right, so what I did is I did BPA. Simple as that. I didn't do what I like, because I already have that mock. You can check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. But I did something where I thought, you know what, Brad Holmes, let's do the BPA approach, where I did one trade, but whoever's there, best player, take him. Best player, take him. All right. And I did that exercise. Okay. You factor in position a little bit, but here's my mock draft here. I'll pull it up here. All right, here we go. This is what I did for me. Best player available. I took Jerzon Newton at 29. I didn't give a shit. All right. I just said, you know what? He fell to me. I'm taking him. All right. I don't care that we signed DJ Reader. I don't care that we have Lee McNeil. I'm taking Jerzon Newton. At 61, wow. TJ Tampa was the best available. And I said, well, I didn't adjust corner, so I have to factor that in a little bit. So I took TJ Tampa. At 73, Austin Booker was actually one of the best available. Wide receiver went quick. So after TJ Tampa, I'm not going to lie to you,
that.
I didn't have the best option. So I took Austin Booker, who I actually do like Austin Booker. We'll go watch his film. I think he's going to be a pretty good player too. And then at Trevor Keegan, I addressed guard. I did factor in position a little bit because I'm like, I can't walk out of here without a freaking offensive lineman, and he was the best offensive lineman available. So I took Trevor Keegan. Zach Zinner was there, but unless Brad favors injury-prone players, at least a player with an injury, who knows? I like Zach Zinner too, but I took Trevor Keegan. This is how I approached it. You just went with BPA. And I didn't want to but it was a different approach, but it's kind of been the talk of what we've been talking about is BPA. So that's what I did, Jerzon Newton.
I have noticed, if you guys are doing mock drafts, and I don't know if it's just PFF or if this is actually going to happen throughout the draft, the wide receivers, as deep of a class as it is, they're going quick. And I think because they're so good, and there's so many wide receivers, and I know Lucas, because he wants it in the first round. There's so many wide receivers that are good in this draft that it seems by the end of round 2, they're all off the board. And that's the sense that I'm getting. I don't know if it's going to end up like that come Thursday, Friday, because the PFF mocks are completely different than what actually happens. A bunch of these wide receivers could end up falling really far, and then you can still get them in the 3rd. But that's just kind of one. That's why I traded back up for Xavier Legette, is because I've noticed the last week or so that a lot of these wide receivers aren't available with that 61st overall pick. That there are all the ones you like. Jalen Polkin is now going in the 40s, 30s, and 40s. Roman Wilson's going in the 30s, 40s now. Like, these guys are getting off the board. It's tough.
Yeah, that's the situation I ran into with my mock draft I did last week when I was selecting players. So I'm just so over them. I can't wait till Thursday. Like I've just and like I did one today where it was like best players at certain rounds. It's on our channel, and it took me 4 versions to get to because I had to iron out some other versions, and then I got to the 4.0, and I did 3.0 was a trade up scenario. But today I did that. Again, BPA is true, but you got to factor in a little bit of positional need. All right, that's just kind of how it works. That's how I believe it works. But I'm also not an NFL GM, so maybe that's a whole other reason. Adam Baydoun, he asked Mailbag, what will Booner do if JJ falls into the 20s?
I'll guarantee you he will not fall into the 20s.
Well, hypothetically,
he will not fall into the 20s.
Well, he'd be not going to lie, Boone. Not that it matter. Who cares about where he gets drafted? He might be in a pretty good situation.
This is what. Oh, for sure. And you know what? I wouldn't hate if he falls, because guess what? If he falls, at least to me, where are the Raiders picking? 13?
Yeah, they would snag
13. The Broncos are drafting at 12. I promise you, he will not make it past 13, because the Raiders, if they don't get trade up to go for Jaden Daniels, which that's been rumors going around that they want Jaden Daniels. If they don't do that and they stay put and JJ starts to fall, JJ will be picked by the Raiders. He will be picked by the Broncos. Even though they just traded for Zach Wilson, they would want JJ McCarthy. So I do think you won't see JJ fall past 13. I think it's a top 10 lock. I think if teams are going to want him, they're going to have to get into the top 10.
Well, let's see. Ed says, Mailbag, does Brad break the table this year? And in parentheses, great pick on Newton. He is a fail-safe. We can't resign Aleem. Yeah, he will break the table.
I love those videos.
He's closer every year to do that. But also, Newton, I don't hate at all. I saw some people like, Newton? You kidding me? That's Brad's philosophy. We all trust him. BPA, that's a BPA right there. You can't really argue that. He's a guy who should go top 20. And if he's there at 29, dude, Aleem McNeil needs a contract. DJ Reader's not getting any younger. What do you guys think? Do you not like the Drazan pick?
Just best player available. He's the best player at that time.
At 29, I don't hate it at all.
Yeah, I love it. I think it would be a great. I wouldn't.
You know what, too? Guess what? It's the Aleem McNeil thing. You're going to have to extend him if you bring in Drazan Newton's available and they draft him. Now you know there's a chance that they're not going to extend Aleem McNeil, because that's a lot of money, and you have DJ Reader already. And in Drazan Newton, you take him in the first round. Connect the dots.
Rando says, after you've seen the mock I posted, Jeff, I don't know where you posted it, Rando. You got to tell me so I can check it out. I have not seen the mock you posted, Rando, but I'll check it out for you. Let's see. Answer 14, Mailbag. If the Lions can maneuver and get 5 picks in top 100, do you think that makes them the most talented roster? Get 5 picks in the top 100. I mean, what they got? 3?
3 right now, I think.
Yeah. They'll add some dudes. Yeah. I mean,
I don't think it really changes much, because I don't.
I think they're a top 3.
How many of them will be
most talented roster?
Mm-hmm. I'd agree.
You guys agree with that?
Well, let's think. San Fran, Philly. I think Houston's up there.
Even top 5. Like, how much
Baltimore? Yeah, they'd be a top 5 roster, I think.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think if they get 5 picks in the top 100, answer 14, Brad Holmes will cook. But the most talented roster by rookies, probably not. Now, if those guys become all pros, we can talk. All right, we can talk.
Jeff, his last 3 draft classes have been like the most talented rookie classes every year. By ranking wise, they're like 1 and 2 every year. So he's trying to go 4 for 4 straight. He already has that turkey. You just learned what a turkey was on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I thought a turkey was a 300.
Perfect game. That was one of the more funnier things I've ever. I was like, I walk up to Jeff. I'm like, I'm about to get a turkey, dude. Like, I have a chance to get a turkey. He's like, perfect game, 300. No, dude.
And he's like, no, Jeff, it's 3 strikes. I'm like, you're right. You're right. All right, let's line Rumble 8-1. How many of this year's picks does Brad Holmes draft players for? Oh, how many of the picks does he draft players for? Rather than like trade, he means like trading them?
Oh,
that's a good question. How many total do they have right now? 7?
I don't know. They don't have that many though. I don't see Brad like getting rid of 2. I mean,
you know what? Can I make a? He's going to end up getting more picks, I think.
Yeah,
somehow, some way.
That's the thing.
He did it last year.
Yeah, I don't think he would give, if it is Lion. I think he'd give up future capital also, not just this year, because you want to keep this year's capital.
Can I throw something out there real quick? And Klotz, I love you so much, so I hope you're not like Booner. Don't say this, but Brad Holmes, I'm just going to throw this out there. When we were doing the draft last year, the second day, Brad Holmes was making so many trades that we were on social trying to keep up with graphics. That Klotz just was like, screw this.
Snap.
And he walked out and left. I'm done with this. Dude, and I swear it wasn't like it was just he just was making so many trades in the second day and making so many picks
for Broderick fucking Martin, dude.
And I was
I
on the
remember
desk,
making that graphic.
dude. I was on the
I remember
desk,
making
and
that
Klotz
graphic.
was like, "Booner, I need help with these." And I was on the desk, and we just thought he was gonna have a couple picks. It was gonna be an easy day. He just traded and traded and traded and picked and picked and picked, and it was one of the most. Now looking back at it, like that day, I was like, "Oh, I felt bad." Like Klotz, looking back, Brad Holmes just put you in a torture chamber and said, "Here you go, Klotz." That was all that happened.
I was left there to fucking die. No one came to help. No
that was
one.
Unbelievable. Brad Holmes just did that all to you. He just, oh man, that was funny.
Man, put him in a blender. That
I literally remember slamming my computer on the table and pounding on the glass at Booner, and Booner's like,
I'm on the desk. You guys probably can see it live on the last place we were at. I look over like mid draft, and Clash is like, "I'm done. I'm leaving." I was like,
yeah. Like Adam said in the chat,
great.
sorry boys, we actually had to work on like Hollywood Jeff. I mean, Jeff
was probably in there just talking about the Pistons or something.
man, NFL draft's cool, but wait till you see what Troy's about to do.
I was working. I wasn't working like you guys. You guys were actually grinding on the social. I was just talking sports for a couple hours, and then
I mean, we were on I was on socials. I was trying to help Lukas on the desk. It was that was a day. How about that?
I would not trade places. To be fair, I would not trade places. You guys definitely were busting your ass. Owner U of M dad says, Mailbag, what player picked by the Lions for the first round pick would send you through the roof? A bad pick, roofer reference, since Jeff is a roofer now.
Mine's
like
no.
What first pick would send you through the roof? I mean, I know Lukas. I mean, you make that very obvious, right? It's Nate Wiggins,
Nathaniel Wiggins.
You know who's another one that I've seen that's like ranked in. Actually, I saw someone put it in their top 30. I think he was like ranked out of top players, not just draft. Ennis Rakestraw was ranked like third. Who's the NFL Network guy that he's
Ian
pretty good
Rappaport?
at? No,
he just
Bucky Brooks.
No, he's like a really big time guy, and on the Pat McAfee show they had him on today, and they said he had the best mock drafts the past 2 years, like most.
Oh, Daniel Jeremiah.
He did his top 50
gotcha.
or top 100, and it wasn't like his draft. It was just his ranking, his top 100 or top 50 prospects. I think he had Ennis Rakestraw at like 30 something or like 29 or something like that. I was shocked. If he ends up going to the Lions, I think all of us, I think we might just shut the show off and walk out.
Jump through the roof? It'd have to be a Marius Mims, I think, for me. I think I'd be like, this is a disaster. Like Boone said.
Boys, this is a disaster.
Yeah, that's
Booner's go-to.
Yeah, I think of Marius Mims, maybe
Chop would send me through the
Chop,
roof for sure.
yeah, but I don't like it.
Can't you convince yourself a little bit with Chop? Just thinking like an
No,
edge, like
no,
a little bit.
No, at 29, no.
I couldn't convince myself with Marius Mims. I don't think I could convince myself.
Lukas, what if in the Lions drafted Troy Franklin?
That would at 29.
That's must-see TV.
I would be so mad, especially if like Legette's on the board, Mitchell's on the board, if Brian Thomas would be on the board. Something would be getting thrown at the camera for sure.
I do think it matters a lot who's on the board at that time. It does matter a lot.
Wisco 35. This one for you, Lukas. Your choice is drafting Nate Wiggins or the Lions will make the playoffs the next 5 years.
Bring Wiggins home. Bring Wiggins home.
What if Lukas stood on business right there? It was like,
fuck
I
that.
don't want Wiggins.
Fuck that.
He would be
Not
fired
in my
in 5 years.
jersey, no way.
He would be out as an executive with the Booner Path. His job would be gone so fast.
Yeah, his job would be. Oh gosh.
You can catch dust on the sideline.
The Purple Prince says, I love this question because now Purple Prince has put me in a corner because he says, would you rather trade up for an elite corner or edge? For me, but no pun intended, by the way. For me, I'd rather get the corner since we already have Hutch. I want talent at all levels, not just the line. Purple Prince, that man's kind of spitting. I'm not going to lie to you. He is spitting. I think the Lions need a de facto number one corner so bad, like just a dude. But you can also argue you get that defensive line right. Maybe you don't need as good, strong of a back end.
Would the defensive end be more value, right?
Yes.
You need to get.
That's where my brain goes to.
But
you
also,
can sign a cornerback too. You're hoping Carlton Davis is your cornerback one. You need pressure. You need someone outside of Hutch to take away some eyes from him because you weren't getting home consistently last year. So you need another. I would take the elite edge and then sign a corner draft one in the second.
Let me ask you this.
I'm going corner.
I'm going corner as well. I think you can find defensive ends in the NFL that can give you 10, 11 sack seasons, especially off one-year deals. When you look at the Super Bowl this year, the San Francisco 49ers arguably had the best front seven, and the Kansas City Chiefs had the best secondary. Which came to prevail? Which brought it home? The best secondary in the NFL. They brought it home. I'm going to go with the secondary. It's harder to find a great corner compared to a great defensive end.
I'm a Quinyon guy, so I want to go Quinyon, but I'm a little bit Gentry. I just want to see someone on the other side of Hutch just dominate. You can I need it because I think you can go get a Stephon Gilmore and you can get a corner in the 3rd round and say, okay, now we have some guys here that works over. But like, what edge rusher are you going to go out and get right now?
Think about a guy staring down Justin Jefferson and just going, tink, tink, not having to worry about it.
I'm a Quinyon guy.
I'm a fucking mouth. Getting Justin Jefferson.
That's a tough question. That is a tough question.
And I get like the response for an edge.
It's not saying that you couldn't get that.
You're valuing positions closer to the football more, which like I get. Like it's a game in the trenches, but also it's harder to find a pure cover like Lukas said.
So you think if you draft a corner this year, they're lining up that rookie on Justin Jefferson over Carlton Davis?
I'm not saying
this year, but if you say like year 2 and 3,
I'm not saying he won't.
Rookie year, no.
Hold on. I'm not saying he will, but I'm not saying he won't. All right, I don't know.
All I'm saying is,
that's the most middle answer of all time, right?
Hurst or Dallas Turner, they're probably starting over.
That was the joke. That was the joke.
I was saying, that doesn't get more middle than that.
No, I think.
What?
What'd you say if you draft?
I think if you draft Dallas Turner or Burst, they're getting quality time on the defensive line, and they're eating over Marcus Davenport.
But I think the long-term payoff of a guy that it could be better.
Yeah, I know. I get that. I wouldn't hate Quinyon Mitchell either, but I mean, it is what it is. Either one of those two I'm happy with. But personally, I would go edge just for the reasons.
Quinyon's starting over a Meek day one, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, 100%.
No, 100%. I'm cool with either of them. But
what a tough question. What a tough question. Oh,
that was a good question.
Tough question.
Yeah, I would go corner just because I just, man.
Quinyon.
Yeah, I would go.
Now corner. What about this? Say at 12, and it probably won't happen, but say Dallas Turner somehow falls a couple extra picks, and you trade up to 12. Yeah. Quinyon, Dallas Turner.
I go Dallas Turner.
Okay,
yeah, I'd go Dallas Turner.
Just because I think after that was really the premise of my argument. You're getting CB1 versus Edge 2-3.
All right, that's fair. Love that. No, we should start some rumors about Dallas Turner. Get him to fall a little bit.
Yeah, I heard he had like a Laramie Tunsil moment, I believe, where he was just smoking his brains out.
Same with Quinyon. Me and Quinyon, we met up at one of the parties in Toledo.
Yeah, he was drinking. Yeah,
I don't need to leak those.
Yep.
No, you should.
Had a good time.
You guys were, I only can imagine what goes down in Toledo. I don't know. I wouldn't draft him until 29, but we'll see.
Shit.
All right, we'll end the show here. Appreciate you guys. This week will be big. Don't forget, for everyone listening and tuning in, and if you're listening via any podcast platform, giveaway. We're giving away a Lions jersey. It's on all our social media platforms.
It's easy
Twitter,
to do it.
And Instagram. Very easy to do. You guys are already subscribed, so you're already halfway there. Check out, again, our Twitter or X and our Instagram account and go participate for a chance to win a Lions jersey. You just got to be following and you got to retweet or share the post. So please check that out. We're giving something back to all you people that have been supporting us. So we're going to do tons of giveaways. This is draft week. We're doing it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Can't wait.
Love you guys.
Don't forget, we'll have a special guest joining tomorrow. He's joined the show already. He's only joined once. It's going to be a great guest. We actually have two guests.
Two guests tomorrow.
Yeah.
Two guests. One hasn't joined the show. One has. It's going to be great. So tune in tomorrow. We'll catch you guys. Appreciate you.